The Amplified Bible, the Old Testament, the book of Genesis, chapter 1. In the beginning, God prepared, formed, fashioned, and created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and an empty waste, and darkness was upon the face of the very great deep. The Spirit of God was moving, hovering, brooding over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good, suitable, pleasant, and he approved it. And God separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, one day. And God said, "Let there be a firmament, the expanse of the sky in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters below from the waters above." And God made the firmament, the expanse, and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the firmament heavens. And there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be collected into one place of standing, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the accumulated waters he called seas. And God saw that this was good, fitting, admirable, and he approved it. And God said, "Let the earth put forth tender vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees yielding fruit whose seed is in itself, each according to its kind upon the earth." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in which was their seed, each according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, suitable, admirable, and he approved it. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be signs and tokens of God's provident care, and to mark seasons, days, and years. And let them be lights in the expanse of the sky to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light, the sun, to rule the day, and the lesser light, the moon, to rule the night. He also made the stars. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, fitting, pleasant, and he approved it. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly, and swarm with living creatures, and let birds fly over the earth in the open expanse of the heavens." God created the great sea monsters, and every living creature that moves, which the waters brought forth abundantly, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, suitable, admirable, and he approved it. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth." And there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creeping things, and wild beasts of the earth according to their kinds." And it was so. And God made the wild beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and domestic animals according to their kinds, and everything that creeps upon the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, fitting, pleasant, and he approved it. God said, "Let us, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, make mankind in our image, after our likeness, and let them have complete authority over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the tame beasts, and over all of the earth, and over everything that creeps upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image and likeness of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, using all its vast resources in the service of God and man. And have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves upon the earth." And God said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the land, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to all the animals on the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the ground, to everything in which there is the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good, suitable, pleasant, and he approved it completely. And there was evening, and there was morning, a sixth day. Genesis 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. And God blessed, spoke good of the seventh day, set it apart as his own, and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all his work which he had created and done. This is the history of the heavens and of the earth when they were created. In the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, when no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not yet caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was no man to till the ground. But there went up a mist, fog, vapor from the land, and watered the whole surface of the ground. Then the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath or spirit of life, and man became a living being. And the Lord God planted a garden toward the east in Eden, delight, and there he put the man whom he had formed, framed, constituted. And out of the ground the Lord God made to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, or to be desired, good, suitable, pleasant for food, the tree of life also in the center of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of the difference between good and evil, and blessing and calamity. Now a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided and became 4 riverheads. The first is named Pishon. It is the one flowing around the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is of high quality, bdellium, pearl, and onyx stone are there. The second river is named Gihon. It is the one flowing around the whole land of Cush. The third river is named Hiddekel, the Tigris. It is the one flowing east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and guard and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, You may eat freely of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and blessing and calamity, you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall surely die. Now the Lord God said, It is not good, sufficient, satisfactory, that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper meet, suitable, adapted, complementary for him. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every wild beast and living creature of the field, and every bird of the air, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called every living creature, that was its name. And Adam gave names to all the livestock, and to the birds of the air, and to every wild beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper meet, suitable, adapted, complementary for him. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and while he slept, he took one of his ribs, or a part of his side, and closed up the place with flesh. And the rib, or part of his side, which the Lord God had taken from the man, he built up, and made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. Then Adam said, This creature is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of a man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and shall become united and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked, and were not embarrassed or ashamed in each other's presence. Genesis 3. Now the serpent was more subtle and crafty than any living creature of the field which the Lord God had made. And he, Satan, said to the woman, Can it really be that God has said, You shall not eat from every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat the fruit from the trees of the garden, except the fruit from the tree which is in the middle of the garden. God has said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, You shall not surely die. For God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing the difference between good and evil, and blessing and calamity. And when the woman saw that the tree was good, suitable, pleasant for food, and that it was delightful to look at, and a tree to be desired in order to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate, and she gave some also to her husband, and he ate. Then the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves apron-like girdles. And they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to Adam and said to him, "Where are you?" He said, "I heard the sound of you walking in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself." And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat?" And the man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree, and I ate." And the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent beguiled, cheated, outwitted, and deceived me, and I ate." And the Lord God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you are cursed above all domestic animals, and above every wild living thing of the field. Upon your belly you shall go, and you shall eat dust and what it contains all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will bruise and tread your head underfoot, and you will lie in wait and bruise his heel. To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your grief and your suffering in pregnancy and the pangs of childbearing. With spasms of distress you will bring forth children. Yet your desire and craving will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. And to Adam he said, Because you have listened and given heed to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it, the ground is under a curse because of you. In sorrow and toil shall you eat of the fruits of it all the days of your life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread until you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you shall return. The man called his wife's name Eve, Lifespring, because she was the mother of all the living. For Adam also and for his wife the Lord God made long coats, tunics of skins, and clothed them. And the Lord God said, Behold, the man has become like one of us, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, to know how to distinguish between good and evil, and blessing and calamity. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also from the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from which he was taken. So God drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim and a flaming sword, which turned every way, to keep and guard the way to the tree of life. Genesis 4. And Adam knew Eve as his wife, and she became pregnant and bore Cain. And she said, I have gotten and gained a man with the help of the Lord. And next she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the course of time Cain brought to the Lord an offering of the fruit of the ground. And Abel brought of the firstborn of his flock and of the fat portions. And the Lord had respect and regard for Abel and for his offering. But for Cain and his offering he had no respect or regard. So Cain was exceedingly angry and indignant, and he looked sad and depressed. And the Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry? And why do you look sad and depressed and dejected? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin crouches at your door. Its desire is for you, but you must master it. And Cain said to his brother, Let us go out to the field. And when they were in the field, Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and killed him. And the Lord said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. And now you are cursed by reason of the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's shed blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield to you its strength. You shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, in perpetual exile, a degraded outcast. Then Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me out this day from the face of the land, and from your face I will be hidden. And I will be a fugitive and a vagabond, and a wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. And the Lord said to him, Therefore, if anyone kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark or sign upon Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. So Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, wandering east of Eden. And Cain's wife, one of Adam's offspring, became pregnant and bore Enoch. And Cain built a city and named it after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael the father of Methusael, and Methusael the father of Lamech. And Lamech took 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, and of the other was Zillah. Ada bore Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have cattle and purchase possessions. His brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all those who play the lyre and pipe. Zillah bore Tubal-Cain. He was the forger of all cutting instruments of bronze and iron. The sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, you wives of Lamech. Listen to what I say. For I have slain a man merely for wounding me, and a young man only for striking and bruising me. If Cain is avenged 7-fold, truly Lamech will be avenged 77-fold. And Adam's wife again became pregnant, and she bore a son and called his name Seth. For God, she said, has appointed for me another child instead of Abel, for Cain slew him. And to Seth also a son was born, whom he named Enosh. At that time men began to call upon God by the name of the Lord. Genesis 5. This is the book, the written record, the history of the generations of the offspring of Adam. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female, and blessed them, and named them both Adam, man, at the time they were created. When Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness, after his image, and he named him Seth. After he had Seth, Adam lived 800 years, and had other sons and daughters. So altogether Adam lived 930 years, and he died. When Seth was 105 years old, Enosh was born. Seth lived after the birth of Enosh 807 years, and had other sons and daughters. So Seth lived 912 years, and he died. When Enosh was 90 years old, Kenan was born to him. Enosh lived after the birth of Kenan 815 years, and had other sons and daughters. So Enosh lived 905 years, and he died. When Kenan was 70 years old, Mahalalel was born. Kenan lived after the birth of Mahalalel 840 years, and had other sons and daughters. So Kenan lived 910 years, and he died. When Mahalalel was 65 years old, Jared was born. Mahalalel lived after the birth of Jared 830 years, and had other sons and daughters. So Mahalalel lived 895 years, and he died. When Jared was 162 years old, Enoch was born. Jared lived after the birth of Enoch 800 years, and had other sons and daughters. So Jared lived 962 years, and he died. When Enoch was 65 years old, Methuselah was born. Enoch walked in habitual fellowship with God after the birth of Methuselah 300 years, and had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Enoch were 365 years, and Enoch walked in habitual fellowship with God. And he was not, for God took him home with him. When Methuselah was 187 years old, Lamech was born to him. Methuselah lived after the birth of Lamech 782 years, and had other sons and daughters. So Methuselah lived 969 years, and he died. When Lamech was 182 years old, a son was born. He named him Noah, saying, This one shall bring us relief and comfort from our work and the grievous toil of our hands, due to the ground being cursed by the Lord. Lamech lived after the birth of Noah 595 years, and had other sons and daughters. So all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Genesis 6. When men began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, and they took wives of all they desired and chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not forever dwell and strive with man, for he also is flesh, but his days shall yet be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God lived with the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination and intention of all human thinking was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved at heart. So the Lord said, I will destroy, blot out, and wipe away mankind whom I have created from the face of the ground, not only man, but the beasts and the creeping things and the birds of the air, for it grieves me and makes me regretful that I have made them. But Noah found grace, favor, in the eyes of the Lord. This is the history of the generations of Noah. Noah was a just and righteous man, blameless in his evil generation. Noah walked in habitual fellowship with God, and Noah became the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was depraved and putrid in God's sight, and the land was filled with violence, desecration, infringement, outrage, assault, and lust for power. And God looked upon the world and saw how degenerate, debased, and vicious it was, for all humanity had corrupted their way upon the earth and lost their true direction. God said to Noah, I intend to make an end of all flesh, for through men the land is filled with violence, and behold, I will destroy them and the land. Make yourself an ark of gopher or cypress wood. Make in it rooms, stalls, pens, coops, nests, cages, and compartments, and cover it inside and out with pitch, bitumen. And this is the way you are to make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its breadth 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits, that is 450 feet by 75 feet by 45 feet. You shall make a roof or window, a place for light for the ark, and finish it to a cubit, at least 18 inches above, and the door of the ark you shall put in the side of it. And you shall make it with lower, second, and third stories. For behold, I, even I, will bring a flood of waters upon the earth, to destroy and make putrid all flesh under the heavens, in which are the breath and spirit of life. Everything that is on the land shall die. But I will establish my covenant, promise, pledge with you, and you shall come into the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. And of every living thing of all flesh found on land, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of fowls and birds according to their kinds, of beasts according to their kinds, of every creeping thing of the ground according to its kind. 2 of every sort shall come in with you, that they may be kept alive. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and you shall collect and store it up, and it shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. Genesis 7. And the Lord said to Noah, Come with all your household into the ark, for I have seen you to be righteous, upright, and in right standing before me in this generation. Of every clean beast you shall receive, and take with you 7 pairs, the male and his mate, and of beasts that are not clean, a pair of each kind, the male and his mate. Also of the birds of the air 7 pairs, the male and the female, to keep seed, their kind, alive over all the earth or land. For in 7 days I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance and thing that I have made I will destroy, blot out, and wipe away from the face of the earth. And Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came upon the earth or land. And Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of clean animals and of animals that are not clean, and of birds and fowls, and of everything that creeps on the ground, there went in 2 and 2 with Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days the floodwaters came upon the earth or land. In the year 600 of Noah's life, in the 17th day of the 2nd month, that same day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and burst forth, and the windows and floodgates of the heavens were opened, and it rained upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day Noah and Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them went into the ark, they and every wild beast according to its kind, all the livestock according to their kinds, every moving thing that creeps on the land according to its kind, and every fowl according to its kind, every winged thing of every sort. And they went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2 of all flesh, in which there were the breath and spirit of life. And they that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded Noah, and the Lord shut him in and closed the door round about him. The flood, that is, the downpour of rain, was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bore up the ark, and it was lifted high above the land. And the waters became mighty and increased greatly upon the land, and the ark went gently floating upon the surface of the waters. And the waters prevailed so exceedingly, and were so mighty upon the earth, that all the high hills under the whole sky were covered. In fact, the waters became 15 cubits higher, as the high hills were covered. And all flesh ceased to breathe that moved upon the earth, fowls and birds, tame animals, wild beasts, all swarming and creeping things that swarm and creep upon the land, and all mankind. Everything on the dry land, in whose nostrils were the breath and spirit of life, died. God destroyed, blotted out every living thing that was upon the face of the earth. Man and animals, and the creeping things, and the birds of the heavens were destroyed, blotted out from the land. Only Noah remained alive, and those who were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed mightily upon the earth or land 150 days, 5 months. Genesis 8. And God earnestly remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind to blow over the land, and the waters sank down and abated. Also the fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The gushing rain from the sky was checked, and the waters receded from the land continually. At the end of 150 days the waters had diminished. On the 17th day of the 7th month the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat in Armenia, and the waters continued to diminish until the 10th month. On the first day of the 10th month the tops of the high hills were seen. At the end of another 40 days Noah opened a window of the ark which he had made, and sent forth a raven, which kept going to and fro until the waters were dried up from the land. Then he sent forth a dove to see if the waters had decreased from the surface of the ground. But the dove found no resting place on which to roost, and she returned to him to the ark, for the waters were yet on the face of the whole land. So he put forth his hand and drew her to him into the ark. He waited another 7 days, and again sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, in her mouth was a newly sprouted and freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the land. Then he waited another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, but she did not return to him any more. In the year 601 of Noah's life, on the first day of the first month, the waters were drying up from the land. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the surface of the ground was drying. And on the 27th day of the 2nd month the land was entirely dry. And God spoke to Noah, saying, Go forth from the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives with you. Bring forth every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and beasts, and every creeping thing that creeps on the ground, that they may breed abundantly on the land, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his wife and his sons and their wives with him, after being in the ark 1 year and 10 days. Every beast, every creeping thing, every bird, and whatever moves on the land went forth by families out of the ark. And Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took of every clean 4-footed animal, and of every clean fowl or bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelled the pleasing odor, a scent of satisfaction to his heart, the Lord said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the imagination, the strong desire of man's heart, is evil and wicked from his youth. Neither will I ever again smite and destroy every living thing as I have done, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. Genesis 9. And God pronounced a blessing upon Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the earth. And the fear of you and the dread and terror of you shall be upon every beast of the land, every bird of the air, all that creeps upon the ground, and upon all the fish of the sea. They are delivered into your hand. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green vegetables and plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with the life of it, which is its blood. And surely for your lifeblood I will require an accounting. From every beast I will require it, and from every man who spills another's lifeblood, I will require a reckoning. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God he made man. And you, be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly on the earth, and multiply on it. Then God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, Behold, I establish my covenant or pledge with you, and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, whether the birds, the livestock, or the wild beasts of the earth along with you, as many as came out of the ark, every animal of the earth. I will establish my covenant or pledge with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood, neither shall there ever again be a flood to destroy the earth and make it corrupt. And God said, This is the token of the covenant, solemn pledge, which I am making between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I set my bow, rainbow, in the cloud, and it shall be a token or sign of a covenant or solemn pledge between me and the earth. And it shall be that when I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow, rainbow, is seen in the clouds, I will earnestly remember my covenant or solemn pledge which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters will no more become a flood to destroy and make all flesh corrupt. When the bow, rainbow, is in the clouds, and I look upon it, I will earnestly remember the everlasting covenant or pledge between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said to Noah, This rainbow is the token or sign of the covenant or solemn pledge which I have established between me and all flesh upon the earth. The sons of Noah who went forth from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan, born later. These are the three sons of Noah, and from them the whole earth was overspread and stocked with inhabitants. And Noah began to cultivate the ground, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and became drunk, and he was uncovered and lay naked in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, glanced at and saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. So Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it upon the shoulders of both, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew the thing which his youngest son had done to him, he exclaimed, Cursed be Canaan, he shall be the servant of servants to his brethren. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and blessed by the Lord my God be Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Genesis 10. This is the history of the generations, descendants of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The sons born to them after the flood were the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these the coastland peoples spread. These are the sons of Japheth in their lands, each with his own language, by their families within their nations. The sons of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabteka. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush became the father of Nimrod. He was the first to be a mighty man on the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar in Babylonia. Out of the land he, Nimrod, went forth into Assyria, and built Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Resen, which is between Nineveh and Calah. All these suburbs combined to form the great city. And Egypt, Mizraim, became the father of Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Casluhim, from whom came the Philistines, and Caphtorim. Canaan became the father of Sidon, his firstborn, Heth, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Archites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Afterward the families of the Canaanites spread abroad, and the territory of the Canaanites extended from Sidon, as one goes to Gerar, as far as Gaza, and as one goes to Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These are the sons of Ham by their families, their languages, their lands, and their nations. To Shem also, the younger brother of Japheth, and the ancestor of all the children of Eber, including the Hebrews, children were born. The sons of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram, Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad became the father of Shelah, and Shelah became the father of Eber. To Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, division, because the inhabitants of the earth were divided up in his days, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan became the father of Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. The territory in which they lived extended from Mesha, as one goes toward Sephir, to the hill country of the east. These are Shem's descendants by their families, their languages, their lands, and their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, according to their generations within their nations. And from these the nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. Genesis 11. And the whole earth was of one language, and of one accent and mode of expression. And as they journeyed eastward, they found a plain valley in the land of Shinar, and they settled and dwelt there. And they said one to another, Come, let us make bricks, and burn them thoroughly. So they had brick for stone, and slime, bitumen for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top reaches into the sky, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do, and now nothing they have imagined they can do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confound, mix up, confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from that place upon the face of the whole earth, and they gave up building the city. Therefore the name of it was called Babel, because there the Lord confounded the language of all the earth. And from that place the Lord scattered them abroad upon the face of the whole earth. This is the history of the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he became the father of Arphaxad, 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after Arphaxad was born 500 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he became the father of Shelah. Arphaxad lived after Shelah was born 403 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he became the father of Eber. Shelah lived after Eber was born 403 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he became the father of Peleg. And Eber lived after Peleg was born 430 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he became the father of Reu. And Peleg lived after Reu was born 209 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he became the father of Serug. And Reu lived after Serug was born 207 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he became the father of Nahor. And Serug lived after Nahor was born 200 years, and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he became the father of Terah. And Nahor lived after Terah was born 119 years, and had other sons and daughters. After Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of, at different times, Abram and Nahor and Haran, his firstborn. Now this is the history of the descendants of Terah. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran was the father of Lot. Haran died before his father Terah died in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldees. And Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. But Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, Lot the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth together to go from Ur of the Chaldees into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. And Terah lived 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Genesis 12. Now in Haran the Lord said to Abram, Go for yourself, for your own advantage, away from your country, from your relatives and your father's house, to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you with abundant increase of favors, and make your name famous and distinguished. And you will be a blessing, dispensing good to others. And I will bless those who bless you, who confer prosperity or happiness upon you, and curse him who curses or uses insolent language toward you. In you will all the families and kindred of the earth be blessed, and by you they will bless themselves. So Abram departed as the Lord had directed him, and Lot his nephew went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the persons, servants, that they had acquired in Haran. And they went forth to go to the land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the locality of Shechem, to the oak or terebinth tree of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, I will give this land to your posterity. So Abram built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he pulled up his tent pegs and departed to the mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. Abram journeyed on, still going toward the south, the Negeb. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to live temporarily, for the famine in the land was oppressive, intense, and grievous. And when he was about to enter into Egypt, he said to Sarai his wife, I know that you are beautiful to behold. So when the Egyptians see you, they will say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Say, I beg of you, that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you. And when Abram came into Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. The princes of Pharaoh also saw her, and commended her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into Pharaoh's house, harem. And he treated Abram well for her sake. He acquired sheep, oxen, he-donkeys, men-servants, maid-servants, she-donkeys, and camels. But the Lord scourged Pharaoh and his household with serious plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, She is my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and get away from here. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they brought him on his way with his wife and all that he had. Genesis 13. So Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south country of Judah, the Negeb. Now Abram was extremely rich in livestock and in silver and in gold. And he journeyed on from the south country of Judah, the Negeb, as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, where he had built an altar at first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. But Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to nourish and support them, so they could dwell together, for their possessions were too great for them to live together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite were dwelling then in the land, making fodder more difficult to obtain. So Abram said to Lot, Let there be no strife, I beg of you, between you and me, or between your herdsmen and my herdsmen, for we are relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself, I beg of you, from me. If you take the left hand, then I will go to the right, or if you choose the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot looked and saw that everywhere the Jordan valley was well watered. Before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, it was all like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the Jordan valley, and he traveled east, so they separated. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the Jordan Valley, and moved his tent as far as Sodom, and dwelt there. But the men of Sodom were wicked and exceedingly great sinners against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had left him, Lift up now your eyes, and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see I will give to you and to your posterity forever. And I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then could your descendants also be counted. Arise, walk through the land, the length of it and the breadth of it, for I will give it to you. Then Abram moved his tent, and came and dwelt among the oaks or terebinths of Mamre, which are at Hebron, and built there an altar to the Lord. Genesis 14. In the days of the kings Amraphel of Shinar, Arioch of Elasar, Chedorlaomer of Elam, and Tidal of Goim, they made war on the kings Bera of Sodom, Birsha of Gomorrah, Shinab of Admah, Shemeber of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. The latter kings joined together as allies in the valley of Siddim, which is now the Dead Sea of Salt. 12 years they had served at Chedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him attacked and subdued the Rephaim in Ashtaroth-Karnaim, the Zumim in Ham, and the Amim in Shavah-Kiriathim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir, as far as El-Paran, which is on the border of the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to En-Mishpat, which now is Kadesh, and subdued all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hazazon-Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, that is Zoar, went out, and together they joined battle with those kings in the valley of Siddim, with the kings Chedorlaomer of Elam, Tidal of Goim, Amraphel of Shinar, and Arioch of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of slime, or bitumen pits, and as the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, they were overthrown there, and the remainder of the kings fled to the mountain. The victors took all the wealth of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all the supply of provisions, and departed. And they also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods away with them. Then one who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew, one from the other side, who was living by the oaks or terebinths of Mamre the Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and of Aner. These were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew had been captured, he led forth the 318 trained servants born in his own house, and pursued the enemy as far as Dan. He divided his forces against them by night, he and his servants, and attacked and routed them, and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his kinsman Lot and his possessions, the women also, and the people. After Abram's return from the defeat and slaying of Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet him at the valley of Shavah, that is, the king's valley. Melchizedek, king of Salem, later called Jerusalem, brought out bread and wine for their nourishment. He was the priest of God Most High. And he blessed him and said, Blessed, favored with blessings, made blissful, joyful be Abram by God Most High, possessor and maker of heaven and earth. And blessed, praised, and glorified be God Most High, who has given your foes into your hand. And Abram gave him 1/10 of all he had taken. And the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the persons, and keep the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand and sworn to the Lord God Most High, the possessor and maker of heaven and earth, that I would not take a thread or a shoelace or anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. Take all except only what my young men have eaten, and the share of the men allies who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion. Genesis 15. After these things the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram. I am your shield, your abundant compensation, and your reward shall be exceedingly great. And Abram said, Lord God, what can you give me, since I am going on from this world childless? And he who shall be the owner and heir of my house is this steward, Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram continued, Look, You have given me no child, and a servant born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This man shall not be your heir, but he who shall come from your own body shall be your heir. And he brought him outside his tent into the starlight, and said, Look now toward the heavens, and count the stars, if you are able to number them. Then he said to him, So shall your descendants be. And he, Abram, believed in, trusted in, relied on, remained steadfast to the Lord. And he counted it to him as righteousness, right standing with God. And he said to him, I am the same Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees to give you this land as an inheritance. But he, Abram, said, Lord God, by what shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said to him, Bring to me a heifer 3 years old, a she-goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he brought him all these, and cut them down in the middle into halves, and laid each half opposite the other. But the birds he did not divide. And when the birds of prey swooped down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. When the sun was setting, a deep sleep overcame Abram, and a horror, a terror, a shuddering fear of great darkness assailed and oppressed him. And God said to Abram, Know positively that your descendants will be strangers dwelling as temporary residents in a land that is not theirs, Egypt, and they will be slaves there, and will be afflicted and oppressed for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on that nation whom they will serve, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. And you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried at a good old hoary age. And in the 4th generation they, your descendants, shall come back here to Canaan again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full and complete. When the sun had gone down, and a thick darkness had come on, behold, a smoking oven and a flaming torch passed between those pieces. On the same day the Lord made a covenant, promise, pledge with Abram, saying, To your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Genesis 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. She had an Egyptian maid whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, See here, the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. I am asking you to have intercourse with my maid. It may be that I can obtain children by her. And Abram listened to and heeded what Sarai said. So Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar her Egyptian maid after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his secondary wife. And he had intercourse with Hagar, and she became pregnant. And when she saw that she was with child, she looked with contempt upon her mistress and despised her. Then Sarai said to Abram, May the responsibility for my wrong and deprivation of rights be upon you. I gave my maid into your bosom, and when she saw that she was with child, I was contemptible and despised in her eyes. May the Lord be the judge between you and me. But Abram said to Sarai, See here, your maid is in your hands and power. Do as you please with her. And when Sarai dealt severely with her, humbling and afflicting her, she, Hagar, fled from her. But the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness on the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, where did you come from? And where are you intending to go? And she said, I am running away from my mistress Sarai. The angel of the Lord said to her, Go back to your mistress and humbly submit to her control. Also the angel of the Lord said to her, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so that they shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord continued, See now, you are with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael. God hears, because the Lord has heard and paid attention to your affliction. And he, Ishmael, will be as a wild ass among men. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he will live to the east, and on the borders of all his kinsmen. So she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, You are a God of seeing. For she said, Have I not even here in the wilderness looked upon him who sees me and lived? Or have I here also seen the future purposes or designs of him who sees me? Therefore the well was called Bir-Lahai-Roi, a well to the living one who sees me. It is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore Abram a son. And Abram called the name of his son whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael. Genesis 17. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am the Almighty God. Walk and live habitually before me, and be perfect, blameless, wholehearted, complete, and I will make my covenant solemn pledge between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. Then Abram fell on his face, and God said to him, As for me, behold, my covenant solemn pledge is with you, and you shall be the father of many nations. Nor shall your name any longer be Abram, high exalted father, but your name shall be Abraham, father of a multitude. For I have made you the father of many nations, and I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings will come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you, and your descendants after you throughout their generations for an everlasting solemn pledge, to be a God to you and to your posterity after you. And I will give to you and to your posterity after you the land in which you are a stranger, going from place to place, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said to Abraham, As for you, you shall therefore keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your posterity after you. Every male among you shall be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token or sign of the covenant, the promise or pledge between me and you. He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised, every male throughout your generations, whether born in your house or bought with your money from any foreigner not of your offspring. He that is born in your house, and he that is bought with your money, must be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the male who is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And God said to Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah, princess, her name shall be. And I will bless her, and give you a son also by her. Yes, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of peoples shall come from her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a son? And he said to God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before you. But God said, Sarah your wife shall bear you a son indeed, and you shall call his name Isaac. Laughter. And I will establish my covenant or solemn pledge with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his posterity after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard and heeded you. Behold, I will bless him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. He will be the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant, my promise and pledge I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this season next year. And God stopped talking with him and went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all who were born in his house, and all who were bought with his money, every male among those of Abraham's house, and circumcised them the very same day, as God had said to him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised. On the very same day Abraham was circumcised, and Ishmael his son as well, and all the men of his house, both those born in the house and those bought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised along with him. Genesis 18. Now the Lord appeared to Abraham by the oaks or terebinths of Mamre, as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men stood at a little distance from him. He ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant, I beg of you. Let a little water be brought, and you may wash your feet, and recline and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will bring a mouthful of bread to refresh and sustain your hearts before you go on further, for that is why you have come to your servant. And they replied, Do as you have said. So Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah, and said, Quickly, get ready 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and bake cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, and brought a calf tender and good, and gave it to the young man to butcher. Then he, Abraham, hastened to prepare it. And he took curds and milk, and the calf which he had made ready, and set it before the men. And he stood by them under the tree while they ate. And they said to him, Where is Sarah your wife? And he said, She is here in the tent. The Lord said, I will surely return to you when the season comes round, and behold, Sarah your wife will have a son. And Sarah was listening, and heard it at the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in years. It had ceased to be with Sarah as with young women. She was past the age of childbearing. Therefore Sarah laughed to herself, saying, After I have become aged, shall I have pleasure and delight, my lord husband being old also? And the Lord asked Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I really bear a child when I am so old? Is anything too hard or too wonderful for the Lord? At the appointed time, when the season for her delivery comes around, I will return to you, and Sarah shall have borne a son. Then Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. The men rose up from there and faced toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham my friend and servant what I am going to do? Since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed through him, and shall bless themselves by him. For I have known, chosen, acknowledged him as my own, so that he may teach and command his children and the sons of his house after him to keep the way of the Lord, and to do what is just and righteous, so that the Lord may bring Abraham what he has promised him. And the Lord said, Because the shriek of the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sin is exceedingly grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether as vilely and wickedly as is the cry of it which has come to me, and if not, I will know. Now the two men turned from there and went toward Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the Lord. And Abraham came close and said, Will you destroy the righteous, those upright and in right standing with God, together with the wicked? Suppose there are in the city 50 righteous. Will you destroy the place and not spare it for the sake of the 50 righteous in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous fare as do the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth execute judgment and do righteously? And the Lord said, If I find in the city of Sodom 50 righteous, upright, and in right standing with God, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Abraham answered, Behold now, I who am but dust and ashes have taken upon myself to speak to the Lord. If 5 of the 50 righteous should be lacking, will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? He said, If I find 45, I will not destroy it. And Abraham spoke to him yet again and said, Suppose only 40 shall be found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. Then Abraham said to him, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak again. Suppose only 30 shall be found there. And he answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And Abraham said, Behold, now I have taken upon myself to speak again to the Lord. Suppose only 20 shall be found there. And the Lord replied, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak again only this once. Suppose 10 righteous people shall be found there. And the Lord said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking with Abraham. And Abraham returned to his place. Genesis 19. It was evening when the two angels came to Sodom. Lot was sitting at Sodom's city gate. Seeing them, Lot rose up to meet them and bowed to the ground. And he said, My lords, turn aside, I beg of you, into your servant's house, and spend the night and bathe your feet. Then you can arise early and go on your way. But they said, No, we will spend the night in the square. Lot entreated and urged them greatly until they yielded, and with him entered his house. And he made them a dinner with drinking, and had unleavened bread, which he baked, and they ate. But before they lay down, the men of the city of Sodom, both young and old, all the men from every quarter, surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may know, be intimate with them. And Lot went out of the door to the men, and shut the door after him, and said, I beg of you, my brothers, do not behave so wickedly. Look now, I have 2 daughters who are virgins. Let me, I beg of you, bring them out to you, and you can do as you please with them. But only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. But they said, Stand back. And they said, This fellow came in to live here temporarily, and now he presumes to be our judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." So they rushed at and pressed violently against Lot, and came close to breaking down the door. But the men, the angels, reached out and pulled Lot into the house to them, and shut the door after him. And they struck the men who were at the door of the house with blindness, which dazzled them, from the youths to the old men, so that they wearied themselves groping to find the door. And the two men asked Lot, "Have you any others here, sons-in-law, or your sons, or your daughters? Whomever you have in the city, bring them out of this place, for we will spoil and destroy Sodom, for the outcry and shriek against its people has grown great before the Lord, and he has sent us to destroy it." And Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who were to marry his daughters, and said, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord will spoil and destroy this city." But he seemed to his sons-in-law to be only joking. When morning came, the angels urged Lot to hurry, saying, "Arise, take your wife and 2 daughters who are here, and be off, lest you too be consumed and swept away in the iniquity and punishment of the city." But while he lingered, the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, for the Lord was merciful to him. And they brought him forth, and set him outside the city, and left him there. And when they had brought them forth, they said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, or stop anywhere in the whole valley. Escape to the mountains of Moab, lest you be consumed." And Lot said to them, "Oh, not that, my lords. Behold, now your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your kindness and mercy to me in saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, lest the evil overtake me, and I die. See now yonder city. It is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape to it. Is it not a little one? And my life will be saved." And the angel said to him, "See, I have yielded to your entreaty concerning this thing also. I will not destroy this city of which you have spoken. Make haste and take refuge there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there." Therefore the name of the city was called Zor, Little. The sun had risen over the earth when Lot entered Zor. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and on Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of the heavens. He overthrew, destroyed, and ended those cities, and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of those cities, and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Abraham went up early the next morning to the place where he, only the day before, had stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the valley, and saw, and behold, the smoke of the country went up like the smoke of a furnace. When God ravaged and destroyed the cities of the plain of Siddim, he earnestly remembered Abraham, imprinted and fixed him indelibly on his mind. And he sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities where Lot lived. And Lot went up out of Zor, and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zor. And he lived in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. The elder said to the younger, "Our father is aging, and there is not a man on earth to live with us in the customary way. Come, let us make our father drunk with wine, and we will lie with him, so that we may preserve offspring, our race, through our father." And they made their father drunk with wine that night, and the older went in and lay with her father. And he was not aware of it when she lay down, or when she arose. And the next day the firstborn said to the younger, "See here, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drunk with wine tonight also, and then you go in and lie with him, so that we may preserve offspring, our race, through our father." And they made their father drunk with wine again that night. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he was not aware of it when she lay down, or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The older bore a son, and named him Moab of a father. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. The younger also bore a son, and named him Ben-Ammi, son of my people. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. Genesis 20. Now Abraham journeyed from there toward the south country, the Negeb, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and he lived temporarily in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, "She is my sister." And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah into his harem. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said, "Behold, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken as your own, for she is a man's wife." But Abimelech had not come near her. So he said, "Lord, Will you slay a people who are just and innocent? Did not the man tell me she is my sister? And she herself said, He is my brother. In integrity of heart and innocency of hands I have done this. Then God said to him in the dream, Yes, I know you did this in the integrity of your heart, for it was I who kept you back and spared you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not give you occasion to touch her. So now restore to the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not restore her to him, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. So Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told them all these things. And the men were exceedingly filled with reverence and fear. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, What have you done to us? And how have I offended you, that you have brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? You have done to me what ought not to be done to anyone. And Abimelech said to Abraham, What did you see in us that justified you in doing such a thing as this? And Abraham said, Because I thought, Surely there is no reverence or fear of God at all in this place, and they will slay me because of my wife. But truly, she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not of my mother. And she became my wife. When God caused me to wander from my father's house, I said to her, This kindness you can show me. At every place we stop, say of me, He is my brother. Then Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male and female slaves, and gave them to Abraham, and restored to him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before you. Dwell wherever it pleases you. And to Sarah he said, Behold, I have given this brother of yours 1,000 pieces of silver. See, it is to compensate you for all that has occurred, and to vindicate your honor before all who are with you. Before all men you are cleared and compensated. So Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his female slaves, and they bore children. For the Lord had closed fast the wombs of all in Abimelech's household because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Genesis 21. The Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for her as he had promised. For Sarah became pregnant and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time God had told him. Abraham named his son, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac, laughter. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. And Sarah said, God has made me to laugh. All who hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children at the breast? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. Now Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking Isaac. Therefore she said to Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be an heir with my son Isaac. And the thing was very grievous, serious, evil in Abraham's sight on account of his son Ishmael. God said to Abraham, Do not let it seem grievous and evil to you because of the youth and your bondwoman. In all that Sarah has said to you, do what she asks. For in Isaac shall your posterity be called. And I will make a nation of the son of the bondwoman also, because he is your offspring. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave them to Hagar, putting them on her shoulders. And he sent her and the youth away. And she wandered on aimlessly and lost her way in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the bottle was all gone, Hagar caused the youth to lie down under one of the shrubs. Then she went and sat down opposite him, a good way off, about a bowshot, for she said, Let me not see the death of the lad. And as she sat down opposite him, he lifted up his voice and wept, and she raised her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the youth, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and said to her, What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the youth, where he is. Arise, raise up the youth, and support him with your hand, for I intend to make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the empty bottle with water, and caused the youth to drink. And God was with the youth, and he developed, and he dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him out of the land of Egypt. At that time Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in everything you do. So now swear to me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me or with my son or with my posterity, but as I have dealt with you kindly, you will do the same with me and with the land in which you have sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. When Abraham complained to and reasoned with Abimelech about a well of water Abimelech's servants had violently seized, Abimelech said, I know not who did this thing. You did not tell me, and I did not hear of it until today. So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two men made a league or covenant. Abraham set apart 7 ewe lambs of the flock. And Abimelech said to Abraham, What do these 7 ewe lambs which you have set apart mean? He said, You are to accept these 7 ewe lambs from me as a witness for me that I dug this well. Therefore that place was called Beersheba, well of the oath, because there both parties swore an oath. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham sojourned in Philistia many days. Genesis 22. After these events God tested and proved Abraham, and said to him, Abraham? And he said, Here I am. God said, Take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering upon one of the mountains of which I will tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him and his son Isaac, and he split the wood for the burnt offering, and then began the trip to the place of which God had told him. On the 3rd day Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. And Abraham said to his servants, Settle down and stay here with the donkey, and I and the young man will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. Then Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering, and laid it on the shoulders of Isaac his son. And he took the firepot in his own hand, and a knife. And the 2 of them went on together. And Isaac said to Abraham, My father? And he said, Here I am, my son. Isaac said, See, here are the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt sacrifice? Abraham said, My son, God himself will provide a lamb for the burnt offering. So the 2 went on together. When they came to the place of which God had told him, Abraham built an altar there. Then he laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar on the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took hold of the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. He answered, Here I am. And he said, Do not lay your hand on the lad, or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear and revere God, since you have not held back from me, or begrudged giving me your son, your only son. Then Abraham looked up and glanced around, and behold, behind him was a ram, caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered it up for a burnt offering, and an ascending sacrifice instead of his son. So Abraham called the name of that place, The Lord Will Provide. And it is said to this day, On the mount of the Lord it will be provided. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a 2nd time, and said, I have sworn by myself, says the Lord, that since you have done this, and have not withheld from me, or begrudged giving me your son, your only son, in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your descendants like the stars of the heavens, and like the sand on the seashore. And your seed, heir, will possess the gate of his enemies. And in your seed, Christ, shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, and by him bless themselves, because you have heard and obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned to his servants, and they rose up and went with him to Beersheba. There Abraham lived. Now after these things it was told Abraham, Micah has also borne children to your brother Nahor, Uz the firstborn, Buz his brother, Kemuel the father of Aram, Kesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. These 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother, and his concubine, whose name was Rumah, bore Tiba, Gaham, Tahash, and Makkah. Genesis 23. Sarah lived 127 years. This was the length of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went to mourn for Sarah, and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead, and said to the sons of Heth, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me property for a burial place among you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the Hittites replied to Abraham, Listen to us, my lord. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in any tomb or grave of ours that you choose. None of us will withhold from you his tomb, or hinder you from burying your dead. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, the Hittites. And he said to them, If you are willing to grant my dead a burial out of my sight, listen to me and ask Ephron, son of Zohar, for me, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he owns. It is at the end of his field. For the full price let him give it to me here in your presence as a burial place to which I may hold fast among you. Now Ephron was present there among the sons of Heth. So in the hearing of all who went in at the gate of his city, Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham, saying, No, my lord, hear me. I give you the field, and the cave that is in it I give you. In the presence of the sons of my people I give it to you. Bury your dead. Then Abraham bowed himself down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in the presence of the people of the land, But if you will give it, I beg of you, hear me. I will give you the price of the field. Accept it from me, and I will bury my dead there. Ephron replied to Abraham, saying, My lord, listen to me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? So bury your dead. So Abraham listened to what Ephron said, and acted upon it. He weighed to Ephron the silver which he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weights current among the merchants. So the field of Ephron in Machpelah, which was to the east of Mamre, Hebron, the field and the cave which was in it, and all the trees that were in the field and in all its borders round about, was made over as a possession to Abraham in the presence of the Hittites, before all who went in at his city gate. After this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah to the east of Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. The field and the cave in it were conveyed to Abraham for a permanent burial place by the sons of Heth. Genesis 24. Now Abraham was old, well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to the eldest servant of his house, Eliezer of Damascus, who ruled over all that he had, I beg of you, put your hand under my thigh, and you shall swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I have settled, but you shall go to my country and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son Isaac. The servant said to him, But perhaps the woman will not be willing to come along after me to this country. Must I take your son to the country from which you came? Abraham said to him, See to it that you do not take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house, from the land of my family and my birth, who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, To your offspring I will give this land. He will send his angel before you, and you will take a wife from there for my son. And if the woman should not be willing to go along after you, then you will be clear from this oath. Only you must not take my son back there. So the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. And the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed, taking some of all his master's treasures with him. Thus he journeyed to Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and the Euphrates, to the city of Nahor, Abraham's brother. And he made his camels to kneel down outside the city by a well of water at the time of the evening, when women go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, I pray you, cause me to meet with good success today, and show kindness to my master Abraham. See, I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming to draw water. And let it so be that the girl to whom I say, I pray you, let down your jar that I may drink, and she replies, Drink, and I will give your camels drink also. Let her be the one whom you have selected and appointed and indicated for your servant Isaac to be a wife to him. And by it I shall know that you have shown kindness and faithfulness to my master. Before he had finished speaking, behold, out came Rebekah, who was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, who was the wife of Nahor, the brother of Abraham, with her water jar on her shoulder. And the girl was very beautiful and attractive, chaste and modest and unmarried. And she went down to the well, filled her water jar, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, I pray you, let me drink a little water from your water jar. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she quickly let down her jar onto her hand and gave him a drink. When she had given him a drink, she said, I will draw water for your camels also, until they finish drinking. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough, and ran again to the well, and drew water for all his camels. The man stood gazing at her in silence, waiting to know if the Lord had made his trip prosperous. And when the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold earring or nose ring of 1/2 shekel in weight, and for her hands 2 bracelets of 10 shekels in weight in gold, and said, Whose daughter are you? I pray you, tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to lodge there? And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, and her husband Nahor. She said also to him, We have both straw and provender, fodder enough, and also room in which to lodge. The man bowed down his head and worshipped the Lord, and said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not left my master bereft and destitute of his loving kindness and steadfastness. As for me, going on the way of obedience and faith, the Lord led me to the house of my master's kinsman. The girl related to her mother's household what had happened. Now Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. And Laban ran out to the man at the well, for when he saw the earring or nose ring, and the bracelets on his sister's arms, and when he heard Rebekah his sister saying, The man said this to me, he went to the man and found him standing by the camels at the well. He cried, Come in, you blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have made the house ready, and have prepared a place for the camels. So the man came into the house, and Laban ungirded his camels, and gave straw and provender for the camels, and water to bathe his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. A meal was set before him, but he said, I will not eat until I have told of my errand. And Laban said, Speak on. And he said, I am Abraham's servant, and the Lord has blessed my master mightily, and he has become great. And he has given him flocks, herds, silver, gold, men servants, maidservants, camels, and asses. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and to him he has given all that he has. And my master made me swear, saying, You must not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell, but you shall go to my father's house and to my family, and take a wife for my son. And I said to my master, But suppose the woman will not follow me. And he said to me, The Lord, in whose presence I walk habitually, will send his angel with you, and prosper your way, and you will take a wife for my son from my kindred and from my father's house. Then you shall be clear from my oath when you come to my kindred. And if they do not give her to you, you shall be free and innocent of my oath. I came today to the well and said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, if you are now causing me to go on my way prosperously, see, I am standing by the well of water. Now let it be that when the maiden comes out to draw water, and I say to her, I pray you, give me a little water from your water jar to drink, and if she says to me, You drink, and I will draw water for your camels also, let that same woman be the one whom the Lord has selected and indicated for my master's son. And before I had finished praying in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with her water jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the well and drew water. And I said to her, I pray you, let me have a drink. And she quickly let down her water jar from her shoulder, and said, Drink, and I will water your camels also. So I drank, and she gave the camels drink also. I asked her, Whose daughter are you? She said, The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put the earring or nose ring on her face, and the bracelets on her arms. And I bowed down my head, and worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me in the right way to take my master's brother's daughter to his son. And now, if you will deal kindly and truly with my master, showing faithfulness to him, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered, The thing comes forth from the Lord. We cannot speak bad or good to you. Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has said. And when Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed himself to the ground before the Lord. And the servant brought out jewels of silver, jewels of gold, and garments, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and her mother. Then they ate and drank, he and the men who were with him, and stayed there all night. And in the morning they arose, and he said, Send me away to my master. But Rebekah's brother and mother said, Let the girl stay with us a few days, at least 10, then she may go. But the servant said to them, Do not hinder and delay me, seeing that the Lord has caused me to go prosperously on my way. Send me away, that I may go to my master. And they said, We will call the girl and ask her, What is her desire? So they called Rebekah and said to her, Will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. So they sent away Rebekah their sister and her nurse, Deborah, and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, You are our sister. May you become the mother of thousands of 10,000s, and let your posterity possess the gate of their enemies. And Rebekah and her maids arose and followed the man upon their camels. Thus the servant took Rebekah and went on his way. Now Isaac had returned from going to the well, Beer Lahairoi, a well to the living one who sees me, for he now dwelt in the south country, the Negeb. And Isaac went out to meditate and bow down in prayer in the open country in the evening. And he looked up and saw that, behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah looked up, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from the camel. For she had said to the servant, Who is that man walking across the field to meet us? And the servant had said, He is my master. So she took a veil and concealed herself with it. And the servant told Isaac everything that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. And he took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Genesis 25. Abraham took another wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Dedan were Ashurim, Letushim, and Leumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac. But to the sons of his concubines, Hagar and Keturah, Abraham gave gifts. And while he was still living, he sent them to the east country, away from Isaac his son of promise. The days of Abraham's life were 175 years. Then Abraham's spirit was released, and he died at a good, ample, full old age, an old man, satisfied and satiated, and was gathered to his people. And his sons, Isaac and Ishmael, buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is east of Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with Sarah his wife. After the death of Abraham, God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt at Beer Lahairoi, a well to the living one who sees me. Now this is the history of the descendants of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, named in the order of their births: Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, and Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jitter, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their villages and by their encampments, sheepfolds, 12 princes according to their tribes. And Ishmael lived 137 years. Then his spirit left him, and he died and was gathered to his kindred. And Ishmael's sons dwelt from Havilah to Shur, which is before Egypt, in the direction of Assyria. Ishmael dwelt close to the lands of all his brethren. And this is the history of the descendants of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Paddan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean. And Isaac prayed much to the Lord for his wife, because she was unable to bear children. And the Lord granted his prayer, and Rebekah his wife became pregnant. 2 children struggled together within her, and she said, If it is so that the Lord has heard our prayer, why am I like this? And she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, The founders of 2 nations are in your womb, and the separation of 2 peoples has begun in your body. The one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau, hairy. Afterward his brother came forth, and his hand grasped Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob, supplanter. Isaac was 60 years old when she gave birth to them. When the boys grew up, Esau was a cunning and skilled hunter, a man of the outdoors, but Jacob was a plain and quiet man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved and was partial to Esau because he ate of Esau's game. But Rebekah loved Jacob. Jacob was boiling pottage, lentil stew, one day, when Esau came from the field and was faint with hunger. And Esau said to Jacob, I beg of you, let me have some of that red lentil stew to eat, for I am faint and famished. That is why his name was called Edom, red. Jacob answered, Then sell me today your birthright, the rights of a firstborn. Esau said, See here, I am at the point of death. What good can this birthright do me? Jacob said, Swear to me today that you are selling it to me. And he swore to Jacob and sold him his birthright. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. And he ate and drank and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau scorned his birthright as beneath his notice. Genesis 26. And there was a famine in the land, other than the former famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Gerar, to Abimelech, king of the Philistines. And the Lord appeared to him and said, Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land of which I will tell you. Dwell temporarily in this land, and I will be with you, and will favor you with blessings. For to you and to your descendants I will give all these lands, and I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. And I will make your descendants to multiply as the stars of the heavens, and will give to your posterity all these lands, kingdoms, and by your offspring shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, or by him bless themselves. For Abraham listened to and obeyed my voice, and kept my charge, my commands, my statutes, and my laws. So Isaac stayed in Gerar. And the men of the place asked him about his wife, and he said, She is my sister. For he was afraid to say, She is my wife, thinking, lest the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she is attractive and is beautiful to look upon. When he had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out of a window, and saw Isaac caressing Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, See here, she is certainly your wife. How did you dare say to me, She is my sister? And Isaac said to him, Because I thought, lest I die on account of her. And Abimelech said, What is this you have done to us? One of the men might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt and sin upon us. Then Abimelech charged all his people, He who touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. And Isaac sowed seed in that land, and received in the same year 100 times as much as he had planted. And the Lord favored him with blessings. And the man became great, and gained more and more, until he became very wealthy and distinguished. He owned flocks, herds, and a great supply of servants, and the Philistines envied him. Now all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had closed and filled with earth. And Abimelech said to Isaac, Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we are. So Isaac went away from there, and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water which had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he gave them the names by which his father had called them. Now Isaac's servants dug in the valley, and found there a well of living spring water. And the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, The water is ours. And he named the well Esek, contention, because they quarreled with him. Then his servants dug another well, and they quarreled over that also, so he named it Sitnah, enmity. And he moved away from there, and dug another well, and for that one they did not quarrel. He named it Rehoboth, room, saying, For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. Now he went up from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you, and will favor you with blessings, and multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. And Isaac built an altar there, and called on the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants were digging a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzah, one of his friends, and Phicol, his army's commander. And Isaac said to them, Why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me, and have sent me away from you? They said, We saw that the Lord was certainly with you, so we said, Let there be now an oath between us, carrying a curse with it to befall the one who breaks it, even between you and us. And let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, inasmuch as we have not touched you, and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed or favored of the Lord. And he made them a formal dinner, and they ate and drank, and they rose up early in the morning, and took oaths with a curse with one another. And Isaac sent them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug, saying, We have found water. And he named the well Sheba. Therefore the name of that city is Beersheba, well of the oath, to this day. Now Esau was 40 years old when he took as wife Judith the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they made life bitter and a grief of mind and spirit for Isaac and Rebekah, their parents-in-law. Genesis 27. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called Esau his elder son and said to him, My son? And he answered him, Here I am. And he said, See here now, I am old. I do not know when I may die. So now I pray you, take your weapons, your arrows, and a quiver, and your bow, and go out into the open country and hunt game for me, and prepare me appetizing meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat of it, preparatory to giving you my blessing, as my firstborn, before I die. But Rebekah heard what Isaac said to Esau his son. And when Esau had gone to the open country to hunt for game, that he might bring it, Rebekah said to Jacob her younger son, See here, I heard your father say to Esau your brother, Bring me game, and make me appetizing meat, so that I may eat and declare my blessing upon you before the Lord, before my death. So now, my son, do exactly as I command you. Go now to the flock, and from it bring me 2 good and suitable kids, and I will make them into appetizing meat for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father, that he may eat and declare his blessing upon you before his death. But Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Listen, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. Suppose my father feels me, I will seem to him to be a cheat and an impostor, and I will bring his curse on me and not his blessing. But his mother said to him, On me be your curse, my son. Only obey my word, and go, fetch them to me. So Jacob went, got the kids, and brought them to his mother. And his mother prepared appetizing meat with a delightful odor, such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took her elder son Esau's best clothes, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids on his hands, and on the smooth part of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. So he went to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done what you told me to do. Now sit up and eat of my game, so that you may proceed to bless me. And Isaac said to his son, How is it that you have found the game so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord your God caused it to come to me. But Isaac said to Jacob, Come close to me, I beg of you, that I may feel you, my son, and know whether you really are my son Esau or not. So Jacob went near to Isaac, and his father felt him and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He could not identify him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. But he said, Are you really my son Esau? He answered, I am. Then Isaac said, Bring it to me, and I will eat of my son's game, that I may bless you. He brought it to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said, Come near and kiss me, my son. So he came near and kissed him. And Isaac smelled his clothing, and blessed him, and said, The scent of my son is as the odor of a field which the Lord has blessed. And may God give you of the dew of the heavens, and of the fatness of the earth, and abundance of grain and new wine. Let peoples serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Let everyone be cursed who curses you, and favored with blessings who blesses you. As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob was scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Esau had also prepared savory food, and brought it to his father, and said to him, Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that you may bless me. And Isaac his father said to him, Who are you? And he replied, I am your son, your firstborn Esau." Then Isaac trembled and shook violently, and he said, "Who? Where is he who has hunted game and brought it to me? And I ate of it all before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, and he shall be blessed." When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with a great and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me, even me also, O my father." Isaac said, "Your brother came with crafty cunning and treacherous deceit, and has taken your blessing." Esau replied, "Is he not rightly named Jacob the supplanter? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and now he has taken away my blessing. Have you not still a blessing reserved for me?" And Isaac answered Esau, "Behold, I have made Jacob your lord and master. I have given all his brethren to him for servants, and with corn and new wine have I sustained him. What then can I do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted up, could not control his voice, and wept aloud. Then Isaac his father answered, "Your blessing and dwelling shall all come from the fruitfulness of the earth and from the dew of the heavens above. By your sword you shall live and serve your brother. But the time shall come when you will grow restive and break loose, and you shall tear his yoke from off your neck." And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are very near. When he is gone, I will kill my brother Jacob." These words of Esau, her elder son, were repeated to Rebekah. She sent for Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, "See here, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you by intending to kill you. So now, my son, do what I tell you. Arise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran. Linger and dwell with him for a while until your brother's fury is spent. When your brother's anger is diverted from you, he will forget the wrong that you have done him. Then I will send and bring you back from there. Why should I be deprived of both of you in one day?" Then Rebekah said to Isaac, "I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth, these wives of Esau. If Jacob takes a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these Hittite girls around here, what good will my life be to me?" Genesis 28. So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and commanded him, "You shall not marry one of the women of Canaan. Arise, go to Paddan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take from there as a wife one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you until you become a group of peoples. May he give the blessing he gave to Abraham to you and your descendants with you, that you may inherit the land he gave to Abraham, in which you are a sojourner." Thus Isaac sent Jacob away. He went to Paddan Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother. Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and sent him to Paddan Aram to take him a wife from there, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, "You shall not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan." And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and had gone to Paddan Aram. Also Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please Isaac his father. So Esau went to Ishmael, and took to be his wife, in addition to the wives he already had, Mahalath, daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth. And Jacob left Beersheba, and went toward Haran. And he came to a certain place, and stayed there overnight, because the sun was set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head, and lay down there to sleep. And he dreamed that there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood over and beside him, and said, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your forefather, and the God of Isaac. I will give to you and to your descendants the land on which you are lying, and your offspring shall be as countless as the dust or sand of the ground. And you shall spread abroad to the west and the east, and the north and the south, and by you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed, and bless themselves. And behold, I am with you, and will watch over you with care, take notice of you wherever you may go, and I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done all of which I have told you." And Jacob awoke from his sleep, and he said, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. He was afraid and said, "How to be feared and reverenced is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gateway to heaven." And Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone he had put under his head, and he set it up for a pillar, a monument to the vision in his dream, and he poured oil on its top in dedication. And he named that place Bethel, the house of God. But the name of that city was Luz at first. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, "If God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me food to eat and clothing to wear, so that I may come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. And this stone which I have set up as a pillar, monument, shall be God's house, a sacred place to me. And of all the increase of possessions that you give me, I will give the 10th to you." Genesis 29. Then Jacob went briskly and cheerfully on his way 400 miles, and came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in the field, and behold, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well the flocks were watered. The stone on the well's mouth was a big one, and when all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone from the well's mouth, water the sheep, and replace the stone on the well's mouth. And Jacob said to them, "My brothers, where are you from?" And they said, "We are from Haran." Jacob said to them, "Do you know Laban, the grandson of Nahor?" And they said, "We know him." He said to them, "Is it well with him?" And they said, "He is doing well, and behold, here comes his daughter Rachel with his sheep." He said, "The sun is still high. It is a long time yet before the flocks need to be gathered in their folds. Why not water the sheep and return them to their pasture?" But they said, "We cannot until all the flocks are gathered together. Then the shepherds roll the stone from the well's mouth, and we water the sheep." While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she shepherded them. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his uncle, Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of his uncle Laban. Then Jacob kissed Rachel, and he wept aloud. Jacob told Rachel he was her father's relative, Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. When Laban heard of the arrival of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him, and embraced and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And Jacob told Laban all these things. Then Laban said to him, "Surely you are my bone and my flesh." And Jacob stayed with him a month. Then Laban said to Jacob, "Just because you are my relative, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be?" Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were weak and dull-looking, but Rachel was beautiful and attractive, and Jacob loved Rachel. So he said, "I will work for you for 7 years for Rachel, your younger daughter." And Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than to another man. Stay and live with me." And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Finally Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, for my time is completed, so that I may take her to me." And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast with drinking. But when night came, he took Leah his daughter and brought her to Jacob, who had intercourse with her. And Laban gave Zilpah his maid to his daughter Leah to be her maid. But in the morning Jacob saw his wife, and behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? Did I not work for you all those 7 years for Rachel? Why then have you deceived and cheated and thrown me down like this?" And Laban said, "It is not permitted in our country to give the younger in marriage before the elder. Finish the wedding feast week for Leah. Then we will give you Rachel also, and you shall work for me yet 7 more years in return." So Jacob complied and fulfilled Leah's week. Then Laban gave him Rachel his daughter as his wife. And Laban gave Bilhah his maid to Rachel his daughter to be her maid. And Jacob lived with Rachel also as his wife, and he loved Rachel more than Leah, and served Laban another 7 years for her. And when the Lord saw that Leah was despised, he made her able to bear children, but Rachel was barren. And Leah became pregnant, and bore a son, and named him Reuben. See, a son. For she said, "Because the Lord has seen my humiliation and affliction, now my husband will love me." Leah became pregnant again, and bore a son, and said, "Because the Lord heard that I am despised, he has given me this son also." And she named him Simeon. God hears. And she became pregnant again, and bore a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be a companion to me, for I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore he was named Levi, companion. Again she conceived, and bore a son, and she said, Now will I praise the Lord. So she called his name Judah, praise. Then for a time she ceased bearing. Genesis 30. When Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she envied her sister, and said to Jacob, Give me children, or else I will die. And Jacob became very angry with Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead, who has denied you children? And she said, See here, take my maid Bilhah, and have intercourse with her, and when the baby comes, she shall deliver it upon my knees, that I by her may also have children. And she gave him Bilhah her maid as a secondary wife, and Jacob had intercourse with her. And Bilhah became pregnant and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God has judged and vindicated me, and has heard my plea, and has given me a son. So she named him Dan, judged. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With mighty wrestlings in prayer to God I have struggled with my sister, and have prevailed. So she named him, this second son Bilhah bore, Naphtali, struggled. When Leah saw that she had ceased to bear, she gave Zilpah her maid to Jacob as a secondary wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, Victory and good fortune have come. And she named him Gad, fortune. Zilpah, Leah's maid, bore Jacob her second son. And Leah said, I am happy, for women will call me blessed, happy, fortunate, to be envied. And she named him Asher, happy. Now Reuben went at the time of wheat harvest, and found some mandrakes, love apples, in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray you, some of your son's mandrakes. But Leah answered, Is it not enough that you have taken my husband without your taking away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Jacob shall sleep with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, You must sleep with me tonight, for I have certainly paid your hire with my son's mandrakes. So he slept with her that night. And God heeded Leah's prayer, and she conceived and bore Jacob her 5th son. Leah said, God has given me my hire, because I have given my maid to my husband. And she called his name Issachar, hired. And Leah became pregnant again, and bore Jacob her 6th son. Then Leah said, God has endowed me with a good marriage gift for my husband. Now will he dwell with me, and regard me as his wife in reality, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she named him Zebulun, dwelling. Afterwards she bore a daughter, and called her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and answered her pleading, and made it possible for her to have children. And now for the first time she became pregnant, and bore a son, and she said, God has taken away my reproach, disgrace, and humiliation. And she called his name Joseph, may he add, and said, May the Lord add to me another son. When Rachel had borne Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, Send me away, that I may go to my own place and country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know the work which I have done for you. And Laban said to him, If I have found favor in your sight, I pray you do not go, for I have learned by experience and from the omens and divination that the Lord has favored me with blessings on your account. He said, State your salary, and I will give it. Jacob answered him, You know how I have served you, and how your possessions, your cattle and sheep and goats, have fared with me. For you had little before I came, and it has increased and multiplied abundantly. And the Lord has favored you with blessings wherever I turned. But now, when shall I provide for my own house also? Laban said, What shall I give you? And Jacob said, You shall not give me anything, if you will do this one thing for me, of which I am about to tell you, and I will again feed and take care of your flock. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from it every speckled and spotted animal, and every black one among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. And such shall be my wages. So later, when the matter of my wages is brought before you, my fair dealing will be evident and answer for me. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the sheep, if found with me, shall be counted as stolen. And Laban said, Good, let it be done as you say. But that same day Laban removed the he-goats that were streaked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white on it, and every black lamb, and put them in charge of his sons. And he set a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob. And Jacob was then left in care of the rest of Laban's flock. But Jacob took fresh rods of poplar and almond and plane trees, and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white in the rods. Then he set the rods which he had peeled in front of the flocks in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. And since they bred and conceived when they came to drink, the flocks bred and conceived in sight of the rods, and brought forth lambs and kids, streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob separated the lambs, and, as he had done with the peeled rods, he also set the faces of the flocks toward the streaked, and all the dark in the new flock of Laban. And he put his own droves by themselves, and did not let them breed with Laban's flock. And whenever the stronger animals were breeding, Jacob laid the rods in the watering troughs before the eyes of the flock, that they might breed and conceive among the rods. But when the sheep and goats were feeble, he omitted putting the rods there. So the feebler animals were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. Thus the man increased and became exceedingly rich, and had many sheep and goats, and maidservants, menservants, camels, and donkeys. Genesis 31. Jacob heard Laban's sons complaining, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's. He has acquired all this wealth and honor from what belonged to our father. And Jacob noticed that Laban looked at him less favorably than before. And the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers, and to your people, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flock. And he said to them, I see how your father looks at me, that he is not friendly toward me as before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my might and power. But your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God did not allow him to hurt me. If he said, The speckled shall be your wages, then all the flock bore speckled. And if he said, The streaked shall be your hire, then all the flock bore streaked. Thus God has taken away the flocks of your father, and given them to me. And I had a dream at the time the flock conceived. I looked up and saw that the rams which mated with the she-goats were streaked, speckled, and spotted. And the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Look up and see. All the rams which mate with the flock are streaked, speckled, and mottled, for I have seen all that Laban does to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar, and where you vowed a vow to me. Now arise, get out from this land, and return to your native land. And Rachel and Leah answered him, Is there any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted by him as strangers? For he sold us, and has also quite devoured our money, the price you paid for us. For all the riches which God has taken from our father are ours, and our children's. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do it. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon the camels. And he drove away all his livestock and all his gain which he had gotten, the livestock he had obtained and accumulated in Paddan Aram, to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, possibly to the feast of sheep shearing, and Rachel stole her father's household gods. And Jacob outwitted Laban the Syrian, Aramean, in that he did not tell him that he intended to flee and slip away secretly. So he fled with all that he had, and arose and crossed the river Euphrates, and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. But on the 3rd day Laban was told that Jacob had fled. So he took his kinsmen with him, and pursued after Jacob for 7 days, and they overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Syrian, Aramean, in a dream by night, and said to him, Be careful that you do not speak from good to bad to Jacob, peaceably, then violently. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent on the hill, and Laban, coming with his kinsmen, pitched his tents on the same hill of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, "What do you mean, stealing away and leaving like this without my knowing it, and carrying off my daughters as if captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and cheat me and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with joy and gladness and with singing, with tambourine and lyre? And why did you not permit me to kiss my sons, grandchildren, and my daughters goodbye? Now you have done foolishly in behaving like this. It is in my power to do you harm. But the God of your fathers spoke to me last night, saying, 'Be careful that you do not speak from good to bad to Jacob, peaceably, then violently.' And now you felt you must go because you were homesick for your father's house. But why did you steal my household gods?" Jacob answered Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I thought, suppose you would take your daughters from me by force. The one with whom you find those gods of yours, let him not live. Here, before our kinsmen, search my possessions, and take whatever you find that belongs to you." For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the images. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent, and the tent of the two maids, but he did not find them. Then he went from Leah's tent into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, gods, and put them in the camel's saddle and sat on them. Laban searched and felt through all the tent, but did not find them. And Rachel said to her father, "Do not be displeased, my lord, that I cannot rise up before you, for the period of women is upon me, and I am unwell." And he searched, but did not find the gods. Then Jacob became angry and reproached and argued with Laban. And Jacob said to Laban, "What is my fault? What is my sin that you so hotly pursued me? Although you have searched and felt through all my household possessions, what have you found of all your household goods? Put it here before my brethren and yours, that they may judge and decide between us. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your she-goats have not lost their young, and the rams of your flock have not been eaten by me. I did not bring you the carcasses of the animals torn by wild beasts. I bore the loss of it. You required of me to make good all that was stolen, whether it occurred by day or by night. This was my lot. By day the heat consumed me, and by night the cold, and I could not sleep. I have been 20 years in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flocks, and you have changed my wages 10 times. And if the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the dread lest he should fall, and fear lest he should offend of Isaac, had not been with me, surely you would have sent me away now empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and humiliation, and the wearying labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night." Laban answered Jacob, "These daughters are my daughters, these children are my children, these flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do today to these my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? So come now, let us make a covenant or league, you and I, and let it be for a witness between you and me." So Jacob set up a stone for a pillar or monument. And Jacob said to his brethren, "Gather stones." And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate together there upon the heap. Laban called it Yegar Sahadutha, witness heap in Aramaic. But Jacob called it Galeed, witness heap in Hebrew. Laban said, "This heap is a witness today between you and me." Therefore it was named Galeed. And the pillar or monument was called Mizpah, watchpost, for he, Laban, said, "May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent and hidden one from another. If you should afflict, humiliate, or lower, divorce my daughters, or if you should take other wives beside my daughters, although no man is with us to witness, see, remember, God is witness between you and me." And Laban said to Jacob, "See this heap and this pillar which I have set up between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not pass by this heap to you, and that you will not pass by this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, and the God, the object of worship of their father Terah, an idolater, judged between us. But Jacob swore only by the one true God, the dread and fear of his father Isaac." Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his brethren to eat food. And they ate food and lingered all night on the mountain. And early in the morning Laban rose up and kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and pronounced a blessing, asking God's favor on them. Then Laban departed and returned to his home. Genesis 32. Then Jacob went on his way, and God's angels met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's army." So he named that place Mahanaim, 2 armies. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, "Say this to my lord Esau, Your servant Jacob says this, I have been living temporarily with Laban, and have stayed there till now. And I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, men servants, and women servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find mercy and kindness in your sight." And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and now he is on the way to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people who were with him, and the flocks and herds and camels, into 2 groups, thinking, "If Esau comes to the one group and smites it, then the other group which is left will escape." Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, 'Return to your country and to your people, and I will do you good,' I am not worthy of the least of all the mercy and loving kindness and all the faithfulness which you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I passed over this Jordan long ago, and now I have become 2 companies. Deliver me, I pray you, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and smite us all, the mothers with the children. And you said, I will surely do you good, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude." And Jacob lodged there that night, and took from what he had with him as a present for his brother Esau 200 she-goats, 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 she-donkeys, and 10 donkey colts. And he put them into the charge of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, "Pass over before me, and put a space between drove and drove." And he commanded the first, "When Esau my brother meets you, and asks to whom you belong, where you are going, and whose are the animals before you, then you shall say, 'They are your servant Jacob's. It is a present sent to my lord Esau, and moreover, he is behind us.' And so he commanded the second and the third and all that followed the drove, saying, 'This is what you are to say to Esau when you meet him. And say, Moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me.' So the present went on before him, and he himself lodged that night in the camp. But he rose up that same night, and took his 2 wives, his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford of the Jabbok. And he took them and sent them across the brook. Also he sent over all that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until daybreak. And when the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And Jacob's thigh was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. Then he said, Let me go, for day is breaking. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you declare a blessing upon me. The man asked him, What is your name? And in shock of realization, whispering, he said, Jacob, supplanter, schemer, trickster, swindler. And he said, Your name shall be called no more Jacob, supplanter, but Israel, contender with God. For you have contended and have power with God and with men, and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked him, Tell me, I pray you, what, in contrast, is your name? But he said, Why is it that you ask my name? And the angel of God declared a blessing on Jacob there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, the face of God, saying, For I have seen God face to face, and my life is spared and not snatched away. And as he passed Peniel, the sun rose upon him, and he was limping because of his thigh. That is why to this day the Israelites do not eat the sinew of the hip which is on the hollow of the thigh, because the angel of the Lord touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh on the sinew of the hip. Genesis 33. And Jacob raised his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming, and with him 400 men. So he divided the children to Leah and to Rachel and to the 2 maids. And he put the maids and their children in front, Leah and her children after them, and Rachel and Joseph last of all. Then Jacob went over the stream before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Esau looked up and saw the women and the children and said, "Who are these with you?" And Jacob replied, "They are the children whom God has graciously given your servant." Then the maids came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also with her children came near, and they bowed themselves. After them Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed themselves. Esau said, "What do you mean by all this company which I met?" And he said, "These are that I might find favor in the sight of my Lord." And Esau said, "I have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." But Jacob replied, "No, I beg of you, if now I have found favor in your sight, receive my gift that I am presenting. For truly to see your face is to me as if I had seen the face of God, and you have received me favorably. Accept, I beg of you, my blessing and gift that I have brought to you. For God has dealt graciously with me, and I have everything." And he kept urging him, and he accepted it. Then Esau said, "Let us get started on our journey, and I will go before you." But Jacob replied, "You know, my lord, that the children are tender and delicate and need gentle care, and the flocks and herds with young are of concern to me. For if the men should overdrive them for a single day, the whole of the flocks would die. Let my lord, I pray you, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on slowly, governed by consideration for the livestock that set the pace before me, and the endurance of the children, until I come to my lord in Seir." Then Esau said, "Let me now leave with you some of the people who are with me." But Jacob said, "What need is there for it? Let me find favor in the sight of my lord." So Esau turned back that day on his way to Seir. But Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built himself a house, and made booths, or places of shelter for his livestock. So the name of the place is called Succoth, booths. When Jacob came from Paddan Aram, he arrived safely and in peace at the town of Shechem, in the land of Canaan, and pitched his tents before the enclosed town. Then he bought the piece of land on which he had encamped from the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. There he erected an altar and called it El Elohi, Israel, God, the God of Israel. Genesis 34. Now Dinah, daughter of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob, went out unattended to see the girls of the place. And when Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he seized her, lay with her, and humbled, defiled, and disgraced her. But his soul longed for and clung to Dinah, daughter of Jacob, and he loved the girl, and spoke comfortingly to her young heart's wishes. And Shechem said to his father Hamor, "Get me this girl to be my wife." Jacob heard that Shechem had defiled Dinah his daughter. Now his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob held his peace until they came. But Hamor, father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to have a talk with him. When Jacob's sons heard it, they came from the field, and they were distressed and grieved and very angry, for Shechem had done a vile thing to Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter, which ought not to be done. And Hamor conferred with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem craves your daughter and sister. I beg of you, give her to him to be his wife. And make marriages with us, and give your daughters to us, and take our daughters to you. You shall dwell with us. The country will be open to you. Live and trade, and get your possessions in it." And Shechem said to Dinah's father and to her brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes, and I will give you whatever you ask of me. Ask me ever so much dowry and marriage gift, and I will give according to what you tell me. Only give me the girl to be my wife." The sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully, justifying their intended action by saying, "In effect, we are going to do this because Shechem had defiled and disgraced their sister Dinah." They said to them, "We cannot do this thing and give our sister to one who is not circumcised, for that would be a reproach and disgrace to us. But we do consent to do this. If you will become as we are, and every male among you be circumcised, then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you and become one people. But if you will not listen to us and consent to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and go." Their words pleased Hamor and his son Shechem. And the young man did not delay to do the thing, for he delighted in Jacob's daughter. He was honored above all his family. So, ranking first, he acted first. Then Hamor and Shechem his son came to the gate of their enclosed town and discussed the matter with the citizens, saying, "These men are peaceable with us. So let them dwell in the land and trade in it, for the land is large enough for us and for them. Let us take their daughters for wives, and let us give them our daughters. But the men will consent to our request that they live among us and be one people, only on condition that every male among us be circumcised as they are. Shall not their cattle and their possessions and all their beasts be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell here with us." And all the people who went out of the town gate listened and heeded what Hamor and Shechem said. And every male was circumcised who was a resident of that town. But on the third day after the circumcision, when all the men were sore, 2 of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's full brothers, took their swords, boldly entered the city without danger, and slew all the males. And they killed Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house, where she had been all this time, and departed. Then the rest of Jacob's 11 sons came upon the slain and plundered the town, because there their sister had been defiled and disgraced. They took their flocks, their herds, their donkeys, and whatever was in the town and in the field, all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives they took captive, making spoil even of all they found in the houses. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have ruined me, making me infamous, and embroiling me with the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and we are few in number, and they will gather together against me and attack me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my household." And they said, "Should he be permitted to deal with our sister as with a harlot?" Genesis 35. And God said to Jacob, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make there an altar to God who appeared to you in a distinct manifestation when you fled from the presence of Esau your brother." And Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, "Put away the images of strange gods that are among you, and purify yourselves, and change into fresh garments. Then let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make there an altar to God who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me wherever I went." So they, both young men and women, gave to Jacob all the strange gods they had, and their earrings, which were worn as charms against evil, in their ears. And Jacob buried and hid them under the oak near Shechem. And they journeyed, and a terror from God fell on the towns round about them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, that is, Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people with him. There he built an altar and called the place El Bethel, God of Bethel, for there God revealed himself to him when he fled from the presence of his brother. But Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died and was buried below Bethel under an oak, and the name of it was called Allon Bacuth, Oak of Weeping. And God, in a distinctly visible manifestation, appeared to Jacob again when he came out of Paddan Aram, and declared a blessing on him. Again God said to him, "Your name is Jacob, supplanter. You shall not be called Jacob any longer, but Israel shall be your name." So he called him Israel, contender with God. And God said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall be born of your stock. The land which I gave Abraham and Isaac I will give to you, and to your descendants after you I will give the land." Then God ascended from him in the place where he talked with him. And Jacob set up a pillar, monument, in the place where he talked with God, a pillar of stone. And he poured a drink offering on it, and he poured oil on it. And Jacob called the name of the place where God had talked with him, Bethel, house of God. And they journeyed from Bethel, and had but a little way to go to Ephrath, Bethlehem, when Rachel suffered the pangs of childbirth, and had hard labor. When she was in hard labor, the midwife said to her, "Do not be afraid, you shall have this son also." And as her soul was departing, for she died, she called his name Benoni, son of my sorrow. But his father called him Benjamin, son of the right hand. So Rachel died, and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. And Jacob set a pillar monument on her grave, that is the pillar of Rachel's grave to this day. Then Israel journeyed on and spread his tent on the other side of the tower of Edar. When Israel dwelt there, Reuben, his eldest son, went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard about it. Now Jacob's sons were 12. The sons of Leah, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maid, Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's maid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob born to him in Paddan Aram. And Jacob came to Isaac his father at Mamre, or Kiriath Arba, that is, Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had sojourned. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. And Isaac's spirit departed. He died and was gathered to his people, being an old man, satisfied and satiated with days. His sons Esau and Jacob buried him. Genesis 36. Now this is the history of the descendants of Esau, that is, Edom. Esau took his wives from the women of Canaan, Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah, daughter of Anah, the son of Zibeon the Hivite, and Basemath, Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebaioth. Adah bore to Esau Eliphaz, Basemath bore Reuel, and Aholibamah bore Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the sons of Esau born to him in Canaan. Now Esau took his wives, his sons, his daughters, and all the members of his household, his cattle, all his beasts, and all his possessions which he had obtained in the land of Canaan, and he went into a land away from his brother Jacob. For their great flocks and herds and possessions which they had collected made it impossible for them to dwell together. The land in which they were strangers could not support them because of their livestock. So Esau dwelt in the hill country of Seir. Esau is Edom. And this is the history of the descendants of Esau, the father of the Edomites in the hill country of Seir. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Adah, Esau's wife, and Reuel, the son of Basemath, Esau's wife. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was a concubine of Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bore Amalek to Eliphaz. These are the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Reuel, Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These are the sons of Basemath, Esau's wife. And these are the sons of Aholibamah, daughter of Anah, the son of Zibeon, Esau's wife. She bore to Esau Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the chiefs of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn of Esau. Chiefs Teman, Omar, Zepho, Kenaz, Korah, Gatam, and Amalek. These are the chiefs of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. They are the sons of Adah. These are the sons of Reuel, Esau's son, chiefs Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, Mizah. These are the chiefs of Reuel in the land of Edom. They are the sons of Basemath, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Aholibamah, Esau's wife, chiefs Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. These are the chiefs born of Aholibamah, daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau, that is, Edom, and these are their chiefs. These are the sons of Seir the Horite, the inhabitants of the land: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishan. These are the chiefs of the Horites, the sons of Seir in the land of Edom. The sons of Lotan are Horai and Heman, and Lotan's sister is Timnah. The sons of Shobal are these: Alvan, Manahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. These are the sons of Zibeon, Aiah, and Anah. This is the Anah who found the hot springs in the wilderness as he pastured the donkeys of Zibeon his father. The children of Anah are these: Dishan and Aholibamah, daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Dishon: Hemdan, Ishban, Ithran, and Chiran. Ezer's sons are these: Bilhan, Zavan, and Akan. The sons of Dishan are these: Uz and Aran. The Horite chiefs are these: Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anah. Dishon, Ezer, Dishan. These are the Horite chiefs according to their clans in the land of Seir. And these are the kings who reigned in Edom before any king reigned over the Israelites. Bela son of Beor reigned in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinhabah. Now Bela died, and Jobab son of Zerah of Bozrah reigned in his stead. Then Jobab died, and Husham of the land of the Temanites reigned in his stead. And Husham died, and Hadad son of Bedad, who defeated Midian in the country of Moab, reigned in his stead. The name of his enclosed city was Avith. Hadad died, and Samlah of Masrekah succeeded him. Then Samlah died, and Shaul of Rehoboth on the river Euphrates reigned in his stead. And Shaul died, and Baal-Hanan son of Achbor reigned in his stead. Baal-Hanan son of Achbor died, and then Hadar reigned. His enclosed city was Paul. His wife's name was Mehetabel, daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. And these are the names of the chiefs of Esau, according to their families and places of residence, by their names: chiefs Timnah, Alva, Jetheth, Aholabama, Elah, Pinon, Kenaz, Teman, Mibsar, Magdiel, and Iram. These are the chiefs of Edom, that is, of Esau, the father of the Edomites, according to their dwelling places in their land. Genesis 37. So Jacob dwelt in the land in which his father had been a stranger and sojourner, in the land of Canaan. This is the history of the descendants of Jacob, and this is Jacob's line. Joseph, when he was 17 years old, was shepherding the flock with his brothers. The lad was with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, his father's secondary wives. And Joseph brought to his father a bad report of them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a distinctive long tunic with sleeves. But when his brothers saw that their father loved Joseph more than all of his brothers, they hated him, and could not say peace in friendly greeting to him, or speak peaceably to him. Now Joseph had a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him still more. And he said to them, Listen now, and hear, I pray you, this dream that I have dreamed. We brothers were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about my sheaf, and bowed down. His brothers said to him, Shall you indeed reign over us? Or are you going to have us as your subjects and dominate us? And they hated him all the more for his dreams and for what he said. But Joseph dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brothers also. He said, See here, I have dreamed again, and behold, this time not only 11 stars, but also the sun and the moon bowed down, and did reverence to me. And he told it to his father as well as his brethren. But his father rebuked him, and said to him, What is the meaning of this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers actually come to bow down ourselves to the earth, and do homage to you? Joseph's brothers envied him, and were jealous of him. But his father observed the saying, and pondered over it. Joseph's brothers went to shepherd and feed their father's flock near Shechem. One day Israel said to Joseph, Do not your brothers shepherd my flock at Shechem? Come, and I will send you to them. And he said, Here I am. And Jacob said to him, Go, I pray you, see whether everything is all right with your brothers and with the flock. Then come back and bring me word. So he sent him out of the Hebron valley, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he had lost his way, and was wandering in the open country. The man asked him, What are you trying to find? And he said, I am looking for my brothers. Tell me, I pray you, where they are pasturing our flocks. But the man said, They were here, but they have gone. I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brothers, and found them at Dothan. And when they saw him far off, even before he came near to them, they conspired to kill him. And they said one to another, See, here comes this dreamer and master of dreams. So come on now, let us kill him, and throw his body into some pit. Then we will say to our father, Some wild and ferocious animal has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. Now Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands by saying, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said to them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit or well that is out here in the wilderness, and lay no hand on him. He was trying to get Joseph out of their hands in order to rescue him and deliver him again to his father. When Joseph had come to his brothers, they stripped him of his distinctive long garment which he was wearing. Then they took him and cast him into the well-like pit, which was empty. There was no water in it. Then they sat down to eat their lunch. When they looked up, behold, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites, mixed Arabians, coming from Gilead with their camels bearing gum of the styrax tree, balm, balsam, and myrrh or ladanum, going on their way to carry them down to Egypt. And Judah said to his brothers, What do we gain if we slay our brothers and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites and Midianites, these mixed Arabians who are approaching, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brothers consented. Then, as the Midianite and Ishmaelite merchants were passing by, the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the well, and they sold him for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, who took Joseph captive into Egypt. Then Reuben, who had not been there when the brothers plotted to sell the lad, returned to the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. He rejoined his brothers and said, The boy is not there, and I, where shall I go to hide from my father? Then they took Joseph's distinctive long garment, killed a young goat, and dipped the garment in the blood. And they sent the garment to their father, saying, We have found this. Examine and decide whether it is your son's tunic or not. He said, My son's long garment. An evil wild beast has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned many days for his son. And all his sons and daughters attempted to console him, but he refused to be comforted and said, I will go down to Sheol, the place of the dead, to my son mourning. And his father wept for him. And the Midianites and Ishmaelites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, and the captain and chief executioner of the royal guard. Genesis 38. At that time Judah withdrew from his brothers and went to lodge with a certain Adulamite named Hira. There Judah saw and met a daughter of Shua, a Canaanite. He took her as wife and lived with her. And she became pregnant and bore a son, and he called him And she conceived again and bore a son and named him Onan. Again she conceived and bore a son and named him Shelah. They were living at Kezib when she bore him. Now Judah took a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. Then Judah told Onan, Marry your brother's widow, live with her, and raise offspring for your brother. But Onan knew that the family would not be his, so when he cohabited with his brother's widow, he prevented conception, lest he should raise up a child for his brother. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, therefore he slew him also. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, Remain a widow at your father's house till Shelah my youngest son is grown. For he thought, lest perhaps if Shelah should marry her, he would die also, as his brothers did. So Tamar went and lived in her father's house. But later Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. And when Judah was comforted, he went up to his sheep-shearers at Timnath with his friend Hira, the Adulamite. Then it was told Tamar, Listen, your father-in-law is going up to Timnath to shear his sheep. So she put off her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil, wrapped herself up in disguise, and sat in the entrance of Enaim, which is by the road to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given to him as his wife. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a harlot, or devoted prostitute, under a vow to her goddess, for she had covered her face, as such women did. He turned to her by the road and said, Come, let me have intercourse with you, for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What will you give me that you may have intercourse with me? He answered, I will send you a kid from the flock. And she said, Will you give me a pledge, deposit, until you send it? And he said, What pledge shall I give you? She said, Your signet, seal, your signet cord, and your staff that is in your hand. And he gave them to her, and came in to her, and she became pregnant by him. And she arose and went away, and laid aside her veil, and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend, the Adulamite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand. But he was unable to find her. he asked the men of that place, "Where is the harlot or cult prostitute who was openly by the roadside?" They said, "There was no harlot or temple prostitute here." So he returned to Judah and said, "I cannot find her." And also the local men said, "There was no harlot or temple prostitute around here." And Judah said, "Let her keep the pledge articles for herself, lest we be made ashamed. I sent this kid, but you have not found her." But about 3 months later Judah was told, "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot, and also she is with child by her lewdness." And Judah said, "Bring her forth, and let her be burned." When she was brought forth, she took the things he had given her in pledge, and sent them to her father-in-law, saying, "I am with child by the man to whom these articles belong." Then she added, "Make out clearly, I pray you, to whom these belong, the signet, seal, signet cord, and staff." And Judah acknowledged them and said, "She has been more righteous and just than I, because I did not give her to Shelah my son." And he did not cohabit with her again. Now when the time came for her to be delivered, behold, there were twins in her womb. And when she was in labor, one baby put out his hand, and the midwife took his hand and bound upon it a scarlet thread, saying, "This baby was born first." But he drew back his hand, and behold, his brother was born first. And she said, "What a breaking forth you have made for yourself." Therefore his name was called Perez, breaking forth. And afterward his brother, who had the scarlet thread on his hand, was born, and was named Zerah, scarlet. Genesis 39. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the captain and chief executioner of the royal guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. But the Lord was with Joseph, and he, though a slave, was a successful and prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to flourish and succeed in his hand. So Joseph pleased Potiphar, and found favor in his sight, and he served him. And his master made him supervisor over his house, and he put all that he had in his charge. From the time that he made him supervisor in his house, and over all that he had, the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the Lord's blessing was on all that he had in the house and in the field. And Potiphar left all that he had in Joseph's charge, and paid no attention to anything he had except the food he ate. Now Joseph was an attractive person and fine-looking. Then after a time his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, "Lie with me." But he refused, and said to his master's wife, "See here, with me in the house my master has concern about nothing. He has put all that he has in my care. He is not greater in this house than I am. Nor has he kept anything from me except you, for you are his wife. How then can I do this great evil and sin against God?" She spoke to Joseph day after day, but he did not listen to her, to lie with her or to be with her. Then it happened about this time that Joseph went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the men of the house were indoors. And she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand, and fled, and got out of the house. And when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and had fled away, she called to the men of her household, and said to them, "Behold, he, your master, has brought in a Hebrew to us to mock and insult us. He came in where I was to lie with me, and I screamed at the top of my voice. And when he heard me screaming and crying, he left his garment with me, and fled, and got out of the house." And she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. Then she told him the same story, saying, "The Hebrew servant whom you brought among us came to me to mock and insult me. And when I screamed and cried, he left his garment with me and fled out of the house." And when Joseph's master heard the words of his wife, saying to him, "This is the way your servant treated me," his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him in the prison, a place where the state prisoners were confined. So he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy and loving kindness, and gave him favor in the sight of the warden of the prison. And the warden of the prison committed to Joseph's care all the prisoners who were in the prison, and whatsoever was done there, he was in charge of it. The prison warden paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge, for the Lord was with him, and made whatever he did to prosper. Genesis 40. Now sometime later the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their lord, Egypt's king. And Pharaoh was angry with his officers, the chief of the butlers and the chief of the bakers. He put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison where Joseph was confined. And the captain of the guard put them in Joseph's charge, and he served them. And they continued in custody for some time. And they both dreamed a dream in the same night, each man according to the personal significance of the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison. When Joseph came to them in the morning and looked at them, he saw that they were sad and depressed. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so dejected and sad today?" And they said to him, "We have dreamed dreams, and there is no one to interpret them." And Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams, I pray you." And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, "In my dream I saw a vine before me, and on the vine were 3 branches. Then it was as though it budded, its blossoms burst forth, and the clusters of them brought forth ripe grapes, almost all at once. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup. Then I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand." And Joseph said to him, "This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will again put Pharaoh's cup into his hand, as when you were his butler. But think of me when it shall be well with you, and show kindness, I beg of you, to me, and mention me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house. For truly I was carried away from the land of the Hebrews by unlawful force, and here too I have done nothing for which they should put me into the dungeon." When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, "I also dreamed, and behold, I had 3 cake baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket were some of all kinds of baked food for Pharaoh. But the birds of prey were eating out of the basket on my head." And Joseph answered, "This is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head, but will have you beheaded and hung on a tree. And you will not so much as be given burial, but the birds will eat your flesh." And on the 3rd day, Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast for all his servants, and he lifted up the heads of the chief butler and the chief baker by inviting them also among his servants. And he restored the chief butler to his butlership, and the butler gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. But Pharaoh hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. But even after all that, the chief butler gave no thought to Joseph, but forgot all about him. Genesis 41. After 2 full years, Pharaoh dreamed that he stood by the river Nile. And behold, there came up out of the river Nile 7 well-favored cows, sleek and handsome and fat, and they grazed in the reed grass in a marshy pasture. And behold, 7 other cows came up after them out of the river Nile, ill-favored and gaunt and ugly, and stood by the fat cows on the bank of the river Nile. And the ill-favored, gaunt, and ugly cows ate up the 7 well-favored and fat cows. Then Pharaoh awoke. But he slept and dreamed the 2nd time, and behold, 7 ears of grain came out on one stalk, plump and good. And behold, after them 7 ears of grain sprouted, thin and blighted by the east wind. And the 7 thin ears of grain devoured the 7 plump and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. So when morning came, his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians and all the wise men of Egypt. And Pharaoh told them his dreams, but not one could interpret them to him. Then the chief butler said to Pharaoh, "I remember my faults today. When Pharaoh was angry with his servants and put me in custody in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker, we dreamed a dream in the same night, he and I. We dreamed each of us according to the significance of the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, a Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard and chief executioner. And we told him our dreams, and he interpreted them to us, to each man according to the significance of his dream. And as he interpreted to us, so it came to pass. I was restored to my office as chief butler, and the baker was hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. But Joseph first shaved himself, changed his clothes, and made himself presentable. Then he came into Pharaoh's presence. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is no one who can interpret it. And I have heard it said of you that you can understand a dream and interpret it. Joseph answered Pharaoh, It is not in me. God, not I, will give Pharaoh a favorable answer of peace. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, In my dream, behold, I stood on the bank of the river Nile, and behold, there came up out of the river Nile 7 fat, sleek, and handsome cows, and they grazed in the reed grass of a marshy pasture. And behold, 7 other cows came up after them, undernourished, gaunt, and ugly, just skin and bones, such emaciated animals as I have never seen in all of Egypt. And the lean and ill-favored cows ate up the 7 fat cows that had come first. And when they had eaten them up, it could not be detected and known that they had eaten them, for they were still as thin and emaciated as at the beginning. Then I awoke, but again I fell asleep and dreamed. And I saw in my dream, and behold, 7 ears of grain growing on one stalk, plump and good. And behold, 7 other ears, withered, thin, and blighted by the east wind, sprouted after them. And the thin ears devoured the 7 good ears. Now I told this to the magicians, but there was no one who could tell me what it meant. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, The 2 dreams are one. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears of grain are 7 years. The 2 dreams are one in their meaning. And the 7 thin and ill-favored cows that came up after them are 7 years, and also the 7 empty ears of grain, blighted and shriveled by the east wind. They are 7 years of hunger and famine. This is the message, just as I have told Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. Take note. 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt are coming. Then there will come 7 years of hunger and famine. And there will be so much want that all the great abundance of the previous years will be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and hunger, destitution, starvation will exhaust, consume, finish the land. And the plenty will become quite unknown in the land because of that following famine, for it will be very woefully severe. That the dream was sent twice to Pharaoh, and in 2 forms, indicates that this thing which God will very soon bring to pass is fully prepared and established by God. So now let Pharaoh seek out and provide a man discreet, understanding, proficient, and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt as governor. Let Pharaoh do this, then let him select and appoint officers over the land, and take 1/5 of the produce of the whole land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years, year by year. And let them gather all the food of these good years that are coming, and lay up grain under the direction and authority of Pharaoh, and let them retain food in fortified granaries in the cities. And that food shall be put in store for the country against the 7 years of hunger and famine that are to come upon the land of Egypt, so that the land may not be ruined and cut off by the famine. And the plan seemed good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, Can we find this man's equal, a man in whom is the Spirit of God? And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Forasmuch as your God has shown you all this, there is nobody as intelligent and discreet and understanding and wise as you are. You shall have charge over my house, and all my people shall be governed according to your word, with reverence, submission, and obedience. Only in matters of the throne will I be greater than you are. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in official vestments of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. He made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had. And officials cried before him, Bow the knee! And he set him over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without you shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paneah, and he gave him Asenath, daughter of Potipherah, priest of On, to be his wife. And Joseph made an inspection tour of all the land of Egypt. Joseph, who had been in Egypt 13 years, was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went about his duties through all the land of Egypt. In the 7 abundant years the earth brought forth by handfuls for each seed planted. And he gathered up all the surplus food of the 7 good years in the land of Egypt, and stored up the food in the cities. He stored away in each city the food from the fields around it. And Joseph gathered grain as the sand of the sea, very much, until he stopped counting, for it could not be measured. Now to Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, whom Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, the priest of On, bore to him. And Joseph called the firstborn Manasseh, making to forget. For God, said he, has made me forget all my toil and hardship, and all my father's house. And the second he called Ephraim, to be fruitful. For he said, God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. When the 7 years of plenty were ended in the land of Egypt, the 7 years of scarcity and famine began to come, as Joseph had said they would. The famine was in all the surrounding lands, but in all of Egypt there was food. But when all the land of Egypt was weakened with hunger, the people there cried to Pharaoh for food. And Pharaoh said to them all, Go to Joseph, what he says to you, do. When the famine was over all the land, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians, for the famine grew extremely distressing in the land of Egypt. And all countries came to Egypt, to Joseph, to buy grain, because the famine was severe over all the known earth. Genesis 42. Now when Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, Why do you look at one another? For he said, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Get down there and buy grain for us, that we may live and not die. So 10 of Joseph's brethren went to buy grain in Egypt. But Benjamin, Joseph's full brother, Jacob, did not send with his brothers, for he said, Lest perhaps some harm or injury should befall him. So the sons of Israel came to buy grain among those who came, for there was hunger and general lack of food in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's half-brothers came and bowed themselves down before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph saw his brethren, and he recognized them, but he treated them as if he were a stranger to them, and spoke roughly to them. He said, Where do you come from? And they replied, From the land of Canaan, to buy food. Joseph knew his brethren, but they did not know him. And Joseph remembered the dreams he had dreamed about them, and said to them, You are spies, and with unfriendly purpose you have come to observe secretly the nakedness of the land. But they said to him, No, my lord, but your servants have come only to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Your servants are not spies. And he said to them, No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land. But they said, Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. The youngest is today with our father, and one is not. And Joseph said to them, It is as I said to you. You are spies. You shall be proved by this test. By the life of Pharaoh you shall not go away from here unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother, and you will be kept in prison, that your words may be proved whether there is any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh you certainly are spies. Then he put them all in custody for 3 days. And Joseph said to them on the 3rd day, Do this and live. I reverence and fear God. If you are true men, let one of your brothers be bound in your prison, but the rest of you go and carry grain for those weakened with hunger in your households. But bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified, and you shall live. And they did so. And they said one to another, We are truly guilty about our brother, for we saw the distress and anguish of his soul when he begged us to let him go, and we would not hear. So this distress and difficulty has come upon us. Reuben answered them, Did I not tell you, Do not sin against the boy, and you would not hear? Therefore, behold, his blood is required of us. But they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. And he turned away from them and wept. Then he returned to them and talked with them, and took from them Simeon, and bound him before their eyes. Then privately Joseph commanded that their sacks be filled with grain, every man's money be restored to his sack, and provisions be given to them for the journey. And this was done for them. They loaded their donkeys with grain and left. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he caught sight of his money, for behold, it was in his sack's mouth. And he said to his brothers, My money is restored. Here it is in my sack. And their hearts failed them, and they were afraid, and turned trembling one to another, saying, What is this that God has done to us? When they came to Jacob their father in Canaan, they told him all that had befallen them, saying, The man who is the Lord of the land spoke roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country. And we said to him, We are true men, not spies. We are 12 brothers with the same father. One is no more, and the youngest is today with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the country, said to us, By this test I will know whether or not you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take grain for your famishing households, and be gone. Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I will know that you are not spies, but that you are honest men. And I will deliver to you your brother, whom I have kept bound in prison, and you may do business in the land. When they emptied their sacks, behold, every man's parcel of money was in his sack. When both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, You have bereaved me. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and you would take Benjamin from me? All these things are against me. And Reuben said to his father, Slay my 2 sons if I do not bring Benjamin back to you. Deliver him into my keeping, and I will bring him back to you. But Jacob said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children. If harm or accident should befall him on the journey you are to take, you would bring my hoary head down to Sheol, the place of the dead, with grief. Genesis 43. But the hunger and destitution and starvation were very severe and extremely distressing in the land, Canaan. And when the families of Jacob's sons had eaten up the grain which the men had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, Go again, buy us a little food. But Judah said to him, The man solemnly and sternly warned us, saying, You shall not see my face again unless your brother is with you. If you will send our brother with us, we will go down to Egypt and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, You shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. And Israel said, Why did you do me such a wrong, and suffer this evil to come upon me by telling the man that you had another brother? And they said, The man asked us straightforward questions about ourselves and our relatives. He said, Is your father still alive? Have you another brother? And we answered him accordingly. How could we know that he would say, Bring your brother down here? And Judah said to Israel his father, Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I will be security for him. You shall require him of me personally. If I do not bring him back to you and put him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. For if we had not lingered like this, surely by now we would have returned the second time. And their father Israel said to them, If it must be so, now do this. Take of the choicest products in the land in your sacks, and carry down a present to the man, a little balsam, and a little honey, aromatic spices, and gum of rock rose or ladanum, pistachio nuts, and almonds, and take double the grain money with you, and the money that was put back in the mouth of your sacks. Carry it again with you. There is a possibility that its being in your sacks was an oversight. Take your brother and arise and return to the man. May God Almighty give you mercy and favor before the man, that he may release to you your other brother and Benjamin. If I am bereaved of my sons, I am bereaved. Then the men took the present, and they took double the grain money with them, and Benjamin. And they arose and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, Bring the men into the house, and kill an animal, and make ready, for the men will dine with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph ordered, and brought the men to Joseph's house. The men were afraid because they were brought to Joseph's house, and they said, We are brought in because of the money that was returned in our sacks the first time we came, so that he may find occasion to accuse and assail us, take us for slaves, and seize our donkeys." So they came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and talked with him at the door of the house, and said, "O sir, we came down truly the first time to buy food, and when we came to the inn we opened our sacks, and there was each man's money, full weight, returned in the mouth of his sack. Now we have brought it back again, and we have brought down with us other money to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sacks." But the steward said, "Peace be to you. Fear not. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your money." And he brought Simeon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house, and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their donkeys provender. And they made ready the present they had brought for Joseph before his coming at noon, for they heard that they were to dine there. And when Joseph came home, they brought into the house to him the present which they had with them, and bowed themselves to him to the ground. He asked them of their welfare, and said, "Is your old father well, of whom you spoke? Is he still alive?" And they answered, "Your servant our father is in good health. He is still alive." And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. And he looked up and saw his full brother Benjamin, his mother's only other son, and said, "Is this your youngest brother of whom you spoke to me?" And he said, "God be gracious to you, my son." And Joseph hurried from the room, for his heart yearned for his brother, and he sought privacy to weep. So he entered his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out, and restraining himself said, "Let dinner be served." And the servants set out the food for Joseph by himself, and for his brothers by themselves, and for those Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, according to the Egyptian custom not to eat food with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. And Joseph's brothers were given seats before him, the eldest according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at one another amazed that so much was known about them. Joseph took and sent helpings to them from before him, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. And they drank freely and were merry with him. Genesis 44. And he commanded the steward of his house, saying, "Fill the men's sacks with food, as much as they can carry, and put every man's money in his sack's mouth. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the sack's mouth of the youngest with his grain money." And the steward did according to what Joseph had said. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys. When they had left the city and were not yet far away, Joseph said to his steward, "Up, follow after the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, 'Why have you rewarded evil for good? Why have you stolen the silver cup? Is it not my master's drinking cup with which he divines the future? You have done wrong in doing this." And the steward overtook them, and he said to them these same words. They said to him, "Why does my lord say these things? Far be it from your servants to do such a thing. Note that the money which we found in the mouths of our sacks we brought back to you from the land of Canaan. Is it likely then that we would steal from your master's house silver or gold? With whomever of your servants your master's cup is found, not only let that one die, but the rest of us will be my lord's slaves." And the steward said, "Now let it be as you say. He with whom the cup is found shall be my slave, but the rest of you shall be blameless." Then quickly every man lowered his sack to the ground, and every man opened his sack. And the steward searched, beginning with the eldest and stopping with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they rent their clothes, and after each man had loaded his donkey again, they returned to the city. Judah and his brethren came to Joseph's house, for he was still there, and they fell prostrate before him. Joseph said to them, "What is this thing that you have done? Do you not realize that such a man as I can certainly detect and know by divination everything you do without other knowledge of it?" And Judah said, "What shall we say to my lord? What shall we reply, or how shall we clear ourselves, since God has found out and exposed the iniquity of your servants? Behold, we are my lord's slaves, the rest of us, as well as he with whom the cup is found." But Joseph said, "God forbid that I should do that. But the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for the rest of you, arise and go in peace to your father." Then Judah came close to Joseph and said, "O my lord, Let your servant, I pray you, speak a word to you in private, and let not your anger blaze against your servant. For you are as Pharaoh, so I will speak as if directly to him. My lord asked his servant, saying, Have you a father or a brother? And we said to my lord, We have a father, an old man, and a young brother, the child of his old age, and his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's offspring, and his father loves him. And you said to your servants, Bring him down to me, that I may set my eyes on him. And we said to my lord, The lad cannot leave his father, for if he should do so, his father would die. And you told your servants, Unless your youngest brother comes with you, you shall not see my face again. And when we went back to your servant my father, we told him what my lord had said. And our father said, Go again, and buy us a little food. But we said, We cannot go down. If our youngest brother is with us, then we will go down. For we may not see the man's face, except our youngest brother is with us. And your servant my father said to us, You know that Rachel my wife bore me 2 sons, and the one went out from me, and I said, Surely he is torn to pieces, and I have never seen him since. And if you take this son also from me, and harm or accident should befall him, you will bring down my gray hairs with sorrow and evil to Sheol, the place of the dead. Now therefore, when I come to your servant my father, and the lad is not with us, since his life is bound up in the lad's life, and his soul knit with the lad's soul, when he sees that the lad is not with us, he will die, and your servants will be responsible for his death, and will bring down the gray hairs of your servant our father with sorrow to Sheol. For your servant became security for the lad to my father, saying, If I do not bring him to you, then I will bear the blame to my father forever. Now therefore I pray you, let your servant remain instead of the youth to be a slave to my lord. And let the young man go home with his half-brothers. For how can I go up to my father if the lad is not with me, lest I witness the woe and the evil that will come upon my father? Genesis 45. Then Joseph could not restrain himself any longer before all those who stood by him, and he called out, Cause every man to go out from me. So no one stood there with Joseph while he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept and sobbed aloud, and the Egyptians who had just left him heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard about it. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? And his brothers could not reply, for they were distressingly disturbed and dismayed at the startling realization that they were in his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, Come near to me, I pray you. And they did so. And he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But now do not be distressed and disheartened or vexed and angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me ahead of you to preserve life. For these 2 years the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years more in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God sent me before you to preserve for you a posterity, and to continue a remnant on the earth, to save your lives by a great escape, and save for you many survivors. So now it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry, and go up to my father and tell him, Your son Joseph says this to you, God has put me in charge of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not delay. You will live in the land of Goshen, and you will be close to me, you and your children and your grandchildren, your flocks, your herds, and all you have. And there I will sustain and provide for you, so that you and your household and all that are yours may not come to poverty and want. For there are yet 5 more years of the scarcity, hunger, and starvation of famine. Now notice, your own eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin can see that I am talking to you personally, in your language, and not through an interpreter. And you shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that you have seen, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. And he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. And after that his brothers conversed with him. When the report was heard in Pharaoh's house that Joseph's brothers had come, it pleased Pharaoh and his servants well. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Tell your brothers this, load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and get your father and your households, and come to me, and I will give you the best in the land of Egypt, and you will live on the fat of the land. You therefore command them, saying, You do this, take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father, and come. Also, do not look with regret or concern upon your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons, as the order of Pharaoh permitted, and gave them provisions for the journey. To each of them he gave changes of raiment, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of raiment. And to his father he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she-donkeys laden with grain, bread, and nourishing food and provision for his father to supply all who were with him on the way. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. And he said to them, See that you do not disagree, get excited, quarrel along the road. So they went up out of Egypt, and came into the land of Canaan to Jacob their father. And they said to him, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart began to stop beating, and he almost fainted, for he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words of Joseph which he had said to them, and when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived, and warmth and life returned. And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph my son is still alive. I will go and see him before I die. Genesis 46. So Israel made his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, a place hallowed by sacred memories, and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in visions of the night, and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will there make of you a great nation. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also surely bring you your people Israel up again. And Joseph will put his hand upon your eyes when they are about to close in death. So Jacob arose and set out from Beersheba, and Israel's sons conveyed their father, their little ones, and their wives in the wagons that Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and the gains which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his offspring with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters, all his offspring he brought with him into Egypt. And these are the names of the descendants of Israel who came into Egypt: Jacob and his sons, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and the sons of Reuben, Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Puvah, Eob, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Jaleel. These are the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Paddan Aram, together with his daughter Dinah. All of his sons and his daughters numbered 33. The sons of Gad, Ziphion, Haggai, Shunai, Esban, Eri, Arodai, and Areli. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, Beriah, and Sarah, their sister. And the sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malchiel. These are the sons of Zilpah the maid, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter. And these she bore to Jacob, 16 persons all told. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. And to Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, daughter of Potipherah, priest of On, bore to him. And the sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Muppim, Huppim, and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel, who were born to Jacob, 14 persons in all. The son of Dan, Hushim. The sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, Gunai, Jezer, and Shillim. These are the sons of Bilhah the maid, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter, and she bore these to Jacob, 7 persons in all. All the persons who came with Jacob into Egypt, who were his own offspring, not counting the wives of Jacob's sons, were 66 persons all told. And the sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt were 2 persons. All the persons of the house of Jacob, including Joseph and Jacob himself, who came into Egypt, were 70. And he sent Judah before him to Joseph to direct him to Goshen and meet him there. And they came into the land of Goshen. Then Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet Israel his father in Goshen. And he presented himself and gave distinct evidence of himself to him, that he was Joseph. And each fell on the other's neck, and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said to Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen your face, and know that you are still alive. Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and say to him, My brothers and my father's household, who are in the land of Canaan, have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for their occupation has been keeping livestock, and they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. When Pharaoh calls you and says, What is your occupation? You shall say, Your servant's occupation has been as keepers of livestock from our youth until now, both we and our fathers before us, in order that you may live in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. Genesis 47. Then Joseph came and told Pharaoh, My father and my brothers with their flocks and their herds and all that they own have come from the land of Canaan, and they are in the land of Goshen. And from among his brothers he took 5 men and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to his brothers, What is your occupation? And they said to Pharaoh, Your servants are shepherds, both we and our fathers before us. Moreover they said to Pharaoh, We have come to sojourn in the land, for your servants have no pasture for our flocks. For the famine is very severe in Canaan. So now we pray you, let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh spoke to Joseph, saying, Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Make your father and your brothers dwell in the best of the land. Let them live in the land of Goshen. And if you know of any men of ability among them, put them in charge of my cattle. Then Joseph brought in Jacob his father, and presented him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asked Jacob, How old are you? Jacob said to Pharaoh, The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and they have not attained to those of the life of my fathers in their pilgrimage. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. Joseph settled his father and brethren, and gave them a possession in Egypt in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, Goshen, as Pharaoh commanded. And Joseph supplied his father and his brethren and all his father's household with food, according to the needs of their families. In the course of time there was no food in all the land, for the famine was distressingly severe, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan hung in doubt and wavered by reason of the hunger, destitution, starvation of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan in payment for the grain which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. And when the money was exhausted in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, Give us food. Why should we die before your very eyes? For we have no money left. Joseph said, Give up your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for them if your money is gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and he gave them food in exchange for the horses, flocks, cattle of the herds, and the donkeys. And he supplied them with food in exchange for all their livestock that year. When that year was ended, they came to Joseph the second year and said to him, We will not hide from my lord the fact that our money is spent. My lord also has our herds of livestock. There is nothing left in the sight of my lord but our bodies and our lands. Why should we perish before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land in exchange for food, and we and our land will be servants to Pharaoh, and give us seed to plant, that we may live and not die, and that the land may not be desolate. And Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for the Egyptians sold every man his field because of the overwhelming severity of the famine upon them. The land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he removed them to cities and practically made slaves of them at their own request, from one end of the borders of Egypt to the other. Only the priest's land he did not buy, for the priests had a fixed pension from Pharaoh and lived on the amount Pharaoh gave them, so they did not sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "Behold, I have today bought you and your land for Pharaoh. Now here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. At harvest time, when you reap the increase, you shall give 1/5 of it to Pharaoh, and 4/5 shall be your own to use for seed for the field, and as food for you and those of your households, and for your little ones." And they said, "You have saved our lives. Let us find favor in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants." And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt to this day, that Pharaoh should have the 5th part of the crops. It was the priest's land only which did not become Pharaoh's. And Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt in the country of Goshen, and they gained possessions there, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So Jacob reached the age of 147 years. When the time drew near that Israel must die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, put your hand under my thigh and promise to deal loyally and faithfully with me. Do not bury me, I beg of you, in Egypt, but let me lie with my fathers. You shall carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burying place." And Joseph said, "I will do as you have directed." Then Jacob said, "Swear to me that you will do it." And he swore to him. And Israel bowed himself upon the head of the bed. Genesis 48. Sometime after these things occurred, someone told Joseph, "Behold, your father is sick." And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and went to Goshen. When Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come to you," Israel collected his strength and sat up on the bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz, Bethel, in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make you a multitude of people, and will give this land to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. And now your 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. I am adopting them, and now, as Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine. But other sons who may be born after them shall be your own, and they shall be called after the names of these 2 brothers, and reckoned as belonging to them when they come into their inheritance. And as for me, when I came from Paddan, Rachel died at my side in the land of Canaan on the way, when yet there was but a little way to come to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. When Israel, almost blind, saw Joseph's sons, he said, "Who are these?" And Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons, whom God has given me in this place." And he said, "Bring them to me, I pray you, that I may bless them." Now Israel's eyes were dim from age, so that he could not see. And Joseph brought them near to him, and he kissed and embraced them. Israel said to Joseph, "I had not thought that I would see your face, but see, God has shown me your offspring also." Then Joseph took the boys from his father's embrace, and he bowed before him with his face to the earth. Then Joseph took both boys, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left, and Manasseh with his left hand toward Israel's right, and brought them close to him. And Israel reached out his right hand and laid it on the head of Ephraim, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, crossing his hands intentionally, for Manasseh was the firstborn. Then Jacob blessed Joseph and said, "God himself, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac lived and walked habitually, God himself, who has been my shepherd and has led and fed me from the time I came into being until this day, the redeeming angel, that is, the angel, the Redeemer, not a created being, but the Lord himself, who has redeemed me continually from every evil, bless the lads, and let my name be perpetuated in them. May they be worthy of having their names coupled with mine, and the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them become a multitude in the midst of the earth." When Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on Ephraim's head, it displeased him, and he held up his father's hand to move it to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said, "Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put your right hand upon his head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and shall be great, but his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall become a multitude of nations. And he blessed them that day, saying, By you shall Israel bless one another, saying, May God make you like Ephraim, and like Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said to Joseph, Behold, I am about to die, but God will be with you, and bring you again to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to you, Joseph, one portion, Shechem, one mountain slope, more than any of your brethren, which I took, reclaiming it out of the hand of the Amorites with my sword and with my bow. Genesis 49. And Jacob called for his sons and said, Gather yourselves together around me, that I may tell you what shall befall you in the latter or last days. Gather yourselves together and hear, you sons of Jacob, and hearken to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, the beginning, the firstfruits of my manly strength and vigor. Your birthright gave you the preeminence in dignity and the preeminence in power. But unstable and boiling over like water, you shall not excel and have the preeminence of the firstborn, because you went to your father's bed, you defiled it. He went to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers, equally headstrong, deceitful, vindictive, and cruel. Their swords are weapons of violence. O my soul, come not into their secret council. Unto their assembly let not my honor be united, for I knew nothing of their plot. Because in their anger they slew men, an honored man, Shechem, and the Shechemites, and in their self-will they disabled oxen. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel. Judah, you are the one whom your brothers shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's son shall bow down to you. Judah, a lion's cub, with the prey, my son, you have gone high up the mountain. He stooped down, he crouched like a lion, and like a lioness. Who dares provoke and rouse him? The scepter or leadership shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until Shiloh, the Messiah, the peaceful one, comes, to whom it belongs, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. Binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine, he washes his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker and more sparkling than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun shall live toward the seashore, and he shall be a haven and a landing place for ships, and his border shall be toward Sidon. Issachar is a strong-boned donkey crouching down between the sheepfolds. And he saw that rest was good, and that the land was pleasant, and he bowed his shoulder to bear his burdens, and became a servant to tribute, subjected to forced labor. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a horned snake in the path, that bites at the horse's heels, so that his rider falls backward. I wait for your salvation, O Lord. Gad, a raiding troop shall raid him, but he shall raid at their heels, and assault them victoriously. Asher's food supply shall be rich and fat, and he shall yield and deliver royal delights. Naphtali is a hind let loose, which yields lovely fawns. Joseph is a fruitful bough by a well, spring, or fountain, whose branches run over the wall. Skilled archers have bitterly attacked and sorely worried him. They have shot at him and persecuted him. But his bow remained strong and steady, and rested in the strength that does not fail him. For the arms of his hands were made strong and active by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob, by the name of the Shepherd, the Rock of Israel, by the God of your father, who will help you, and by the Almighty, who will bless you with blessings of the heavens above, blessings lying in the deep beneath, blessings of the breasts and of the womb. The blessings of your father on you are greater than the blessings of my forefathers, Abraham and Isaac, on me, and are as lasting as the bounties of the eternal hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was the consecrated one, and the one separated from his brethren, and the one who is prince among them. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, and at night dividing the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And this is what their father said to them as he blessed them, blessing each one according to the blessing suited to him. He charged them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my departed people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave in the field of Machpelah, east of Mamre, in the land of Canaan, that Abraham bought along with the field of Ephron the Hittite to possess as a cemetery. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and the cave that is in it was from the sons of Heth. When Jacob had finished commanding his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed and breathed his last, and was gathered to his departed people. Genesis 50. Then Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept over him, and kissed him. And Joseph ordered his servants the physicians to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. Then 40 days were devoted to this purpose for him, for that is the customary number of days required for those who are embalmed. And the Egyptians wept and bemoaned him as they would for royalty for 70 days. And when the days of his weeping and deep grief were past, Joseph said to the nobles of the house of Pharaoh, If now I have found grace in your eyes, speak, I pray you, to Pharaoh. For Joseph was dressed in mourning and could not do so himself, saying, My father made me swear, saying, I am about to die. In my tomb, which I hewed out for myself in the land of Canaan, there you shall bury me. So now let me go up, I pray you, and bury my father, and I will come again. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. And Joseph went up to Canaan to bury his father, and with him went all the officials of Pharaoh, the nobles of his court, and the elders of his house, and all the nobles and elders of the land of Egypt, and all the household of Joseph and his brethren and his father's household. Only their little ones and their flocks and herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went with Joseph both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond, west of, the Jordan, and there they mourned with a great lamentation and extreme demonstrations of sorrow, according to Egyptian custom. And Joseph made a mourning for his father 7 days. When the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning for the Egyptians. Therefore the place was called Abel Mizraim, mourning of Egypt. It is west of the Jordan. Thus Jacob's sons did for him as he had commanded them. For his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, east of Mamre, which Abraham bought, along with the field, for a possession as a burying place from Ephron the Hittite. After he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brethren, and all who had gone up with him. When Joseph's brethren saw that their father was dead, they said, Perhaps now Joseph will hate us, and will pay us back for all the evil we did to him. And they sent a messenger to Joseph, saying, Your father commanded before he died, saying, So shall you say to Joseph, Forgive, take up and away all resentment and all claim to requital concerning, I pray you now, the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now we pray you, forgive the trespass of the servants of your father's God. And Joseph wept when they spoke thus to him. Then his brothers went and fell down before him, saying, See, we are your servants, your slaves. And Joseph said to them, Fear not, for am I in the place of God? Vengeance is his, not mine. As for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring about that many people should be kept alive as they are this day. Now therefore do not be afraid. I will provide for and support you and your little ones. And he comforted them, imparting cheer, hope, strength, and spoke to their hearts kindly. Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the 3rd generation. The children also of Machir, son of Manasseh, were brought up on Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brethren, I am going to die. But God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob to give you. And Joseph took an oath from the sons of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you will carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt.